effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Now that spring is here, it's time for some spring home maintenance.
That's cold!
Hot water issues? Call CenterGuard Plumbing. Right now, get a new 40-gallon atmospheric vent water heater installed for just $1,295 standard installation, or a 50-gallon for $1,395 standard installation with free haul away of your old tank. A proud sponsor of AM 560, you'll save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on tankless and atmospheric vent water heaters with CenterGuard Plumbing. Plus, get 10% off any licensed plumbing contractor competitor's price. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive spring special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit centerguardplumbing.com.
Mike Gallagher loves shining the light on problems.
The Sarasota County Democratic Party is feeling disappointed. And then their comment was, well, that sucks. Oh, it sucks that the assassin didn't hit his target? There is a cleansing here. The rock is being lifted up and the cockroaches are being revealed. And there's a lot of cockroaches.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's May 19th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Devil's Food Cake Day. It's a day celebrated by chocolate cake lovers around the globe who may have been waiting to indulge their cravings for the rich and decadent treat. The first known recipe for Devil's Food Cake is believed to have appeared in the Hagerstown Exponent of Hagerstown, Indiana, near the turn of the 20th century. A truly great Devil's Food Cake should be airy and have a silky texture. Also on this date, in 1906, the Federated Boys Club was organized. It would later be known as the Boys Club of America. And auto racer Willie T. Ribbs becomes the first African-American driver to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 in 1991. If it's your birthday today, you share it with rocker and guitar legend Pete Townsend, born in 1945. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Hey, this is Sean Thompson. You know, most of us spend our entire lives in the paycheck mode. You work, you get 30% taken from the G, you pay your bills, repeat and rinse. And that's how time goes by. Then all of a sudden you're old. Retirement hits. Suddenly, you're the one who has to figure out your paycheck that isn't there anymore. Markets are bumpy, prices are up, things can get stressful real fast. That's why having a real income plan matters. Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group can help you build a strategy to turn your hard-earned savings into a reliable retirement income. They coordinate with your Social Security and your tax planning so you can stop wondering if you're withdrawing the right amount at the right time. Tom Fortino and the people of Alpha Wealth Group have been doing this for 30 years. They can help you by giving you a complimentary retirement roadmap. And all you have to do is call 630-864-6711. That's 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate, it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Platform safety is critical at your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com.
Food, fuel, jobs. It all starts with homegrown Illinois corn. Driving a $148 billion economic impact, corn supports thousands of jobs and strengthens communities across our state. It's advancing cleaner burning biofuels, expanding plant-based manufacturing, and growing a renewable economy. Illinois corn isn't just an agricultural success, it's a strategic investment in energy, innovation, and economic growth. See what's possible at ilcorn.org.
Have you ever wondered, with all the different religions and interpretations of the Bible, how you can be sure that you're on the right path in your spiritual journey? The powerful new book, You and God by Peter Philippi, helps you answer this question and discover how to establish a truly personal relationship with God through biblical understanding and faith. Get your copy of You and God by Peter Philippi today by visiting pbmusa.org. That's pbmusa.org.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are three companies quietly building a $1 trillion triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These three companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on three companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which three companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and the U.S. Department of Justice struck a blow against the trans industry in a new settlement. $10 million and a new first-in-the-nation clinic to unwind the damage done to children caught up in the pediatric sex change industry's machinations, stripping 5 of its practitioners of access to more potential victims. Texas Children's Hospital in Houston agreed to end its pediatric sex change practice, pay $10 million in penalties, while opening the nation's first detransition center to assist victims of this predatory industry. This settlement also vindicates Dr. Ethan Haim, who blew the whistle on the fraud and got targeted by the Biden-era DOJ and the medical industry for retaliation. Haim faced criminal prosecution under a ginned-up HIPAA complaint that could have put him in prison for 10 years. This settlement gives justice to Texas children maimed and sterilized by a despicable medical establishment. Dr. Haim deserves justice too, along with his vindication.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect cloudy skies with a breeze, a few showers, and a thunderstorm. It'll be very warm in the morning, then turning cooler in the afternoon. Thunderstorms could bring localized damaging wind gusts. The high will reach 82. Tonight will be partly to mostly cloudy and cooler with a low of 48. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Well, Zoran Mamdani, the commie mayor of New York City, is one step ahead of BLM Brandon when it comes to the proletariat revolution. Because while we wait patiently for the Gimme Dat grocery stores to open up here, the city-owned grocery stores in Chicago, Zoran Mamdani is rolling out a 5-borough program of city-owned grocery stores in New York City, beginning in the Bronx as soon as next year. And those 9 words that were the scariest, or are the scariest in the English language, according to Reagan, well, Zoran has a new take on the 9 scariest words.
Of city-owned grocery stores, 1 in each borough. In these stores, prices will be cheaper. Workers will be paid fairly and treated with dignity. Going to the grocery store will no longer cause that same anxiety for so many New Yorkers. Now, on April 13th, we announced the first site, La Marqueta en el Barrio. And in doing so, honoring the legacy of Fiorella LaGuardia, who opened a site close to 100 years prior with the same mission of delivering cheaper goods to New Yorkers. Today, my friends, I am so proud to announce that the Bronx location will be here at the Peninsula. And New Yorkers will not need to wait long for costs to drop. This store will be the first of the 5 city-run grocery stores to open. Bronx residents will be able to begin shopping here next year. It is going to be a 20,000 square foot location, and its ambition is perfectly placed at the Peninsula, which will house 740 units of 100% affordable housing by the time that it's fully built. And as we heard from Jeannie, it'll be located on the site of the former Spofford Juvenile Detention Facility, somewhere that for so many years was synonymous with neglect and mistreatment. This was a place of failure, where young, predominantly low-income New Yorkers were subjected to brutal physical conditions, human rights violations, and physical abuse. We are reclaiming that same site to tell a very different story. This store and the Peninsula as a whole will serve as physical proof of our conviction that government can be a force for good, that government can drive change that improves people's lives. And standing here this morning, I cannot help but think of the words of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. He famously said, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help." It's a good quote, but I disagree. I think 9 more terrifying words are actually, I worked all day and can't feed my family.
Yay. That wasn't a Bronx cheer. That was a real cheer. 312-642-5600, the alphawealthgroup.com answer line and text line. So digging in on the city-owned grocery stores, the low prices, the low prices you'll be able to enjoy as soon as next year. The 9 most frightening words in the English language. I've worked all day and I can't afford, what was it? I can't afford something. Anyway, that's the warm embrace of collectivism is enveloping New York City. The warm embrace of collectivism. Although, no less than Bishop Robert Barron, who was there over the weekend, well, in D.C. over the weekend for the Rededicate 250. You know, he's one of the, I don't know, few or at least most prominent Catholic leaders, like theological leaders, men of the cloth, that is willing to speak with the moral clarity that is required when you address neo-Marxists like Zoran Mamdani. Capitalism, like all economic systems, is going to be flawed because it's made up of flawed human beings. But the economy that kills, socialism is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of millions of people. Collectivism, warm embrace or not, has been such a disastrous concept. Those were the words of Barron. And he also explained he is against socialism precisely because he is Catholic. Because he abhors human suffering, abhors the indignities that the left talks about so much and turns around and imposes. He has great concern over the prospects of what Mamdani will do to New York City, much like all these other big city mayors have done to their respective cities. The warm embrace of collectivism, time for cheering. It's interesting because, of course, he is meeting with Wall Street CEOs, Jamie Dimon. He plans to meet with the Goldman Sachs boss. I wonder how those conversations are going to go, particularly as some of the individuals that his office provides credentials to are cheerleading social murder, as they call it. Social killing to protect our democracy. Joe in Arlington Heights, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning. When you spoke about the Mamdani this morning, I recalled a quote from Ayn Rand, the famous author. I might say it. She, as follows, when at the age of 12, at the time of the Russian Revolution, I first heard the communist principle that man must exist for the sake of the state. I perceived that this was the essential issue, that this principle was evil, and that it could lead to nothing but evil, regardless of any methods, details, decrees, policies, promises, or pious platitudes. And she said this when she was 12, or she thought this when she was 12, and half the people in New York think it's good.
Yeah, thanks for the call. And more than half probably think the same thing in Chicago. I mean, when I say, as I say routinely, you know, the view of these revolutionary government unions is that everybody else is spare parts to be used as they see fit, that other people is the means to their particular ends, their revolutionary ends. And, well, that's the same thing, is that you are there to serve the system. How does CPS work? You protect the system. And if that means you have to grind up a few kids, or a few 100,000 for that matter, and relegate them to second-class citizen status for life because you've essentially housed them and never even given them the opportunity to earn a quality education, to free them, well, that's the same concept. So we see this play out in practice all the time. It's just not, the terms aren't used. And, the kind of rhetorical flourishes of an Ayn Rand obviously would be completely lost on most of the electorate because, well, they can't read at grade level. They can't critically think. They can't observe what's happening and connect any dots. They see no outputs, only inputs. They don't care about outputs. They care only about inputs. They can't connect action and reaction, choice and consequence. And of course, that's what these flim-flam artists like Mamdani, that's what they count on. But I was saying, too, about the warm embrace of collectivism. Boy, it was on display in New York City, and I don't mean with the rollout of the grocery stores. Meet Ashley and Lena, two Mangonistas that are members, duly credentialed members of the New York City Press Corps, as so decreed by the mayor's office, sporting their press passes, talking to a reporter for the New York Daily News. These are independent journalists. But I mean, really, are they all that different?
I think people need to know how much power they have to resist with rights like jury nullification, which is information that's purposely obfuscated from the public, especially because our government and these health insurance companies, they're literally stealing our money and using it to kill us. Come on. The American people need to stand up for themselves. It's about time. It's beyond time. Yeah.
I'm arriving late. Can you tell me who you are and why you're here today?
You want to go first? Yeah, my name is Lena, and we've just been court watching all of Luigi's court dates, and we're part of a group called the Mandanistas. You can find us on
What are you called?
The Mandanistas. We are a trio. Our Mandanista April is right there and stuff like that. We're essentially here to be Luigi Mangioni's advocate as well as bringing social issues to light, and also having more youth engagement when it comes to social issues like these. That's our primary focus.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So are you reporting on this trial?
Yeah, we're Access Press. Since it's very obvious that Legacy Media has some sort of agenda against Luigi Mangione and his supporters, and we're here to prove that we have the power as the people to get the public informed.
What are your issues with the media coverage?
Well, it's mostly the suppression of what's been going on, everything from not even mentioning how we had an illegal cavity search done on a forgery charge. I have yet to see any news outlet whatsoever report on that, and also the fact that most of this evidence was unlawfully obtained. The chain of custody was broken, and that's just the truth of the matter, and it's horrible because the only person that ends up suffering is Luigi Mangione and the people because it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people. Yeah, and let's be honest, most average Americans support him. We're fed up with being exploited and treated like cattle, basically blood sacrifices to line the pockets of health insurance executives and the politicians that they bribe with our money that they're stealing from us. It's pretty sickening. Other countries have had revolutions for far less. We're pretty much the most cucked and submissive population in all of human history. And I'm tired of it. It's time for everyone to grow some balls and stand and stand on business.
A time to grow some balls. We're the most cucked country because we don't appreciate the use of social murder to preserve our democracy, you see. Now, by the way, in the Mangione case, those two journalists credentialed from City Hall. The judge did earlier this week suppress some items from the initial search, cell phone, passport, wallet. But these are minor points that are completely lost on the Manganistas. You're a journalist who calls yourself a Manganista. Most regular people in America, they say, support Luigi Mangione and, by extension, support his murder. There's three of them. Lena Weisbrot, Ashley Rojas. Those are the two you heard from there. And then you bring in Abril Rios. They had more to say about social murder.
I said what I said. I don't give a fuck.
His children are better off without him. They need to live.
Brian Thompson's children are better off without him.
And enjoy the blood money, kids.
What was that? I didn't get that, what you said.
I'm standing on business. Brian Thompson. I don't give a fuck. Died. Millions of Americans.
I liked it.
Millions of Americans suffer every single day from the lack of medical when it comes to United Healthcare. We had a literal infant.
Wait for Lena to get back into the picture here.
Because of how negligent her health insurance was, she died. An infant died. So if you guys are okay with someone like Brian Thompson being around and that being a part of our society, that says more about you as a person, because you look absolutely monstrous defending someone like that. Participates in social murder. That's what we
mass social murder.
Mass
He's
social murder.
responsible for more deaths than Osama bin Laden. And I remember Americans celebrating when Osama bin Laden was killed. It's not like we don't understand heroic violence or like when violence is good.
Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was assassinated by Luigi Mangione. Had killed more people than Osama bin Laden. Just to make sure you heard what she said. And that the mass use of social murder is important because it's righteous violence. Heroic violence was the term they used. That's how they're describing the Mangione murder. These three journalists. By the way, just by comparison, Charles Fane Lehman over at City Journal, which is an outlet for the Manhattan Institute, sort of a libertarian policy organization, think tank. They can't get a press pass from City Hall in New York City. They can't. But these three promoting the assassination of CEOs, promoting social murder, these Mangianistas, official members of the press, so says Mamdani and company. Of course they are. The warm embrace of collectivism. Let's check the headlines with Mike Scott.
70 degrees in Chicago in the QC Kinetics newsroom. I'm Mike Scott. Expect a couple of breezy and showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. Police say a shooting in San Diego at a mosque has killed 3 men and left both shooters dead of apparent self-inflicted wounds. FBI Director Kash Patel.
We are not going to tolerate any acts of violence whatsoever, especially terrorist act of violence based on radical ideology and misplaced faith.
Mayor Todd Gloria promising extra security for mosques.
I want to assure San Diegans, in particular our Muslim brothers and sisters, the San Diego Police Department will be guarding all of our local houses of worship with additional presence to assure your safety during this very, very tragic time.
San Diego's police chief says they're investigating the attack as a hate crime.
We're in the process of serving search warrants that will continue tonight and on into the days ahead.
The shooting erupted Monday at the Islamic Center of San Diego. Police say they were already looking for one of the teens since his mother called in concerned that her son was suicidal. President Trump says the U.S. has had important discussions with Iran. Speaking from the White House, the president confirmed he's paused a planned military attack against Iran set for tomorrow. Meantime, the White House is tracking an Ebola outbreak in Africa.
I'm concerned about everything, but certainly am. I think that, it's been confined right now to Africa, but it's something that has had a breakout.
His comments come after an American tested positive for the virus in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Governor Pritzker blasting Mayor Brandon Johnson over his weak and last-ditch efforts to try and keep the Bears in Chicago.
Has come up with no plan at all about how the Bears would end up in the city of Chicago, so that's problematic. I'd love them to be in the city, but we're 3 years in now, and he still has no plan.
A New York investment firm is preparing to buy Chicago's parking meters. Mayor Brandon Johnson's office confirmed there is a tentative deal for Chicago parking meters to sell those meters to Stone Peak Partners. Talks about purchasing the parking meters stem from that infamous 2008 deal by then Chicago Mayor Richard Daley, who sold the city meters to a private company for just over $1 billion over 75 years. White Sox had 6 hits and a 6-1 loss to the Mariners. Cubs surrendered 13 hits in a 9-3 loss to the Brewers. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but in 2 minutes, a check of your weather forecast.
Mike Gallagher shares a scary stat.
74% of Americans, including 91% of Republicans and 70% of independents, say the U.S. is winning against Iran. Do you want to know what percentage of Democrats side with Iran? 40%. Nearly half of Democrats are cheering for Iran. Let that sink in.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a super fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99 a month. But wait, there's more. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be switching to an American wireless company that's committed to keeping 100% of its customer service in this country. I appreciate that. In fact, that's why I switched. I also appreciate the way they support our vets and our skilled workforce. Dial pound 250, say micro, and get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. That's pound 250 micro. Stop paying twice what you need to pay for the service you want and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Giving your liver a spring cleaning is easy with Active Liver from New Nordic. Search for Active Liver by New Nordic on Amazon, CVS, Wegmans, or GNC.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect cloudy skies with a breeze, a few showers, and a thunderstorm. It will be very warm in the morning, but temperatures will drop in the afternoon. Thunderstorms may bring localized damaging wind gusts. The high will reach 82 degrees. Tonight will be partly to mostly cloudy and cooler with a low of 48. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Since we were talking about Mamdani's unveiling of the one city-owned grocery store per borough plan in New York City, the warm embrace of collectivism, credentializing members of the press who are Magonistas promoting social murder, don't care that Brian Thompson was assassinated, believe essentially that more CEOs should be for the same reason, for the social murders that they commit. Brian Thompson more of a scourge on America than Osama bin Laden. That's what they said. His kids are better off without him. That's what they think and how they think. So the status of that sort of attitude in Chicago. There's a piece in Chicago Magazine by Ed McClellan called The Progressive Slide that seems to suggest that our iteration of neo-Marxist revolutionary politics has run into some unanticipated problems. That perhaps maybe that the apogee of their political power is behind them. It wasn't long ago that progressives had momentum on the city council. With a like-minded mayor in office and a record number of small d Democratic socialists as alders, they passed ordinances that aimed to reshape Chicago according to their vision. Guaranteed paid leave. One fair wage. Raising the minimum wage for tip workers from less than $10 an hour to the standard of $16.60 at present. Giving restaurants 5 years to scale up their pay. But fast forward to this March, and the same city council voted to scuttle the wage plan and freeze the scale up at $12.62 an hour, citing concerns from said restaurant industry. Gosh, who could have predicted that? Brandon Johnson vetoed that move and still had enough votes on the council to prevent an override, but it's telling that 30 of the 50 alders wanted to nix the plan that just 3 years early, 36 voted for. This is what things have come to for progressives in Chicago. I mean, is that a crushing defeat? They are no longer in control of the agenda. Instead, they're playing defense, trying to protect what they've already gained. So how did we get here, asked McClelland. The city council's Progressive Reform Caucus, that's just a fancy phraseology for Marxists, neo-Marxists, still has 19 members, same as 2023. But many other alderhumans who once voted with it, have joined forces in the so-called Common Sense Caucus to put a check on the mayor's power, most notably by rejecting his last budget and writing their own. The bloc has helped relegate progressives, neo-Marxists, to their traditional role as an outspoken minority. Is that what you feel about Chicago, that this radical leftism, neo-Marxism as I term it, is on the wane? Because BLM Brandon is sparring with some alderhumans and occasionally with the governor on things like a head tax. You heard Mike Scott reporting on the criticism lobbed his way by Jelly Belly yesterday. Here it was.
I know that the mayor has no plan. He has come up with no plan at all about how the Bears would end up in the city of Chicago, so that's problematic. I'd love them to be in the city, but we're 3 years in now, and he still has no plan. And in fact, this is kind of typical. The mayor has shown up every spring at the end of session to pronounce what he would like to see happen. And as you know, the budget gets put together starting in November. I present my budget, well, really we start at the beginning of a fiscal year, but about in November, we're in the details of the budget. I present that budget to the legislature in February. So that seems like a good time period to come talk to the governor's office. Then there's February to May. There's all that time to come talk to the legislature, which has my budget in hand, or the governor's office. Again, we've seen almost nothing out of the mayoral administration here on that subject, or really any other. And so to show up in May and have a bunch of demands seems like late in the game, and it's unfortunate that's happened most years.
Oh, boy. Schism between JB and BJ. Are they not getting along anymore? Or have we seen this act before, actually, on the topic I just mentioned, the corporate head tax? Little professional separation from BJ by JB, by some of the alder humans as well. Is it because they don't share the same political goals? I mean, policy goals. They all share the same political goals. Get reelected, move up. Policy goals. There's a strain of moderation that's running through the city council. The neo-Marxist power structure in the county, the city, the state. Is that what's happening? I mean, this piece by McClellan, look, it's a Chicago Magazine, so what do you expect? Any sort of discord they want to amplify as particularly meaningful, suggesting that tectonic political plates are shifting. Are they? I notice Saks Fifth Avenue has just engaged in an act of corporate abandonment, I think we call it now when businesses leave. Corporate abandonment of Chicago. Another one. Hey, businesses come, businesses go. Big city living, no big deal. Do we see that as a point of contention? What are we going to do to make this a more hospitable place for business? Freezing the scaling up temporarily at 12.62 as opposed to 16.6 in terms of the hourly minimum wage? A couple of Marxists profiled here. Andre Vasquez, one of them. They have broken with the mayor's agenda in high-profile ways, criticizing BLM Brandon for pushing out Pedro Martinez as CPS CEO, instituting stay limits on migrant shelters, and proposing a property tax to cover budget shortfalls. They're criticizing him for those things. He proposed budget shortfalls. He proposed instituting a stay on migrant shelters. So that actually they're to the left of him on that. Vasquez says the mayor's team hasn't helped the cause with its insular approach and intransigent stances. They failed to build relationships. They failed to listen to the alder humans. Vasquez thinks BLM Brandon has turned off potential allies by dismissing concerns voiced about his Bring Home Chicago plan to combat homelessness with increased taxes on $1 million homes so you can build your Gimme Dat housing projects in the financial district right next to your Gimme Dat city-owned grocery store. It isn't just the city council bucking the progressive movement, writes McClellan. I'm missing it. I read the piece a couple times. What is the bucking? It sounds like some personality conflicts, a lack of inspiration, due in part to BLM Brandon's lack of competence, effectiveness, thus popularity. So he's a bit of a political albatross, which is why they want separation, so they can do all the things that they all set out to do, but they don't have to, carry the political weight of a BLM Brandon with them. I mean, am I missing a seismic move to the middle here that represents a rethinking of their government-centric approach to civil society in Chicagoland? 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, call and text line. this seems to me designed to convey, propagandize to the public that there is some substantive disagreements here. There's daylight. The parameters of debate, are the width of an eye of a needle. There is no paradigm shift happening. There is nothing constituting a walk away from the warm embrace of collectivism that punctuates every policy promulgated by BLM Brandon, the alderhumans, generally speaking, with few exceptions, and most of those exceptions are public safety related. They're not economic vitality related. And that would include JB, too. JB and BJ. You think JB wants to wear the jacket for the Bears leaving, Illinois? So separation from BLM Brandon. If they move to Indiana, BLM Brandon let him go because he wasn't on the ball in Chicago coming up with a plan at the outset, working with the General Assembly and the governor's office at the outset to consummate the plan. Hey, he's the mayor. I'm just the governor. We're just the General Assembly. So if and when the Bears go, it's not me, it was him. Come on. The progressive slide. I wish it were true. I'm trying to, again, parse the words here, find some reference that would indicate that is true. I don't see it. Austin Berg, writing over at The Last Word, says Substack of sorts. He weighed in on this op-ed as well. He talked about, he was asked the question of whether in a podcast, whether or not he was short or long on Chicago. This is an interview he gave with Fox Chicago's Grant Horn, I guess is his name. Grant Horn's question. You short or long on Chicago? I'm long. I think we have great infrastructure. We have great natural beauty. We have a great story. We're a beautiful natural magnet for all the cool people that live in the plains and the Midwest and the South. I feel like when the rest of the country becomes uninhabitable because of mudslides or power outages or shorelines or things along those lines, the Midwest is going to look really hot from a real estate perspective. I mean, oh, boy, the Chicago Press Corps. You know what's going to save us? When climate change devastates the rest of the country, people are going to flock back to Chicago. I mean, are you serious? That's a policy strategy? That's progressive on the slide? This is a reporter, much less the politicians. And I know they're largely indistinguishable. Austin Berg very generously responds saying, I think the climate refugee argument, which is ludicrous, but I think that he doesn't say that. He's nicer than me. I think the climate refugee argument is a form of what I would call waiting for Superman syndrome. Yes. With apologies to Davis Guggenheim, which is what I say all the time, waiting for Godot, prefer the literary reference. Where it's like, this is Austin Berg. Well, it's like, this thing completely outside our control as a city actually is going to break our way, and that'll be our saving grace. I think I'm actually much more hopeful than that because I agree. I think Chicago is the greatest American city and happens to be the worst governed, which is, the crux of the problem. And the prospect of it getting out from underneath being the worst governed is exactly what, which is my question. And, and it's the same sort. This is sort of the conservative bromide where you're trying to, find a way into optimism. The good, our problems are man-made problems, which I used to say all the time. Man-made problems, so there's man-made solutions. Yeah, but there's no political will to implement any of them. There's the rub. Yeah, Austin's very long on Chicago. That's sort of the mindless happy talk that just doesn't have much persuasive capacity for me anymore. Or for, I think, most successful people, which is why they're still a line to the exit. No, unfortunately, not only is leftism not on the slide, it is still preeminent. It is not being met with anything that resembles meeting the moment and pointing a different way, both in terms of personnel or vision. Obviously, you need people to articulate the vision, to provide the leadership. There's very little of either. So, yes, there can always be a black swan event or a black swan candidate. But I don't see either on the horizon at present. Do you?
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-682-3311. That's 800-682-3311. 800-682-3311.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:06, we'll have the latest on that San Diego mosque shooting. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
Iran is not being bombed today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump says that was the plan, to resume the attacks with nuclear talks stalled, but
I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal.
The Iranians released a few statements overnight, with the country's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, saying dialogue does not mean surrender, and a senior Iranian official, Mohsen Razi, attacking President Trump on X, saying he sets a deadline for a military attack and then canceled it himself, with the false hope that he will surrender the Iranian nation and officials, the iron fist of the powerful armed forces, and the great nation of Iran will force them to retreat and surrender.
That's Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Security's bolstered at mosques and cities across the U.S. after what's being called a hate crime in California. A shooting at the Islamic Center of San Diego. 3 people were killed, including a security guard. Police Chief Scott Wall says
his actions were heroic.
and undoubtedly he saved lives today.
Fox's Alex Hogan reports the two attackers were teenagers.
Shots rang out at the center just before noon Pacific time yesterday. Police responding in full force because they were already searching for one of the suspects. The teen's mom had actually called police about 2 hours prior after seeing that some of her weapons were missing and finding a note from her teenage son.
He and the other teen were found dead in a car blocks away from the center. It's believed they shot themselves. The polls are opening now in Georgia and Pennsylvania, among the 6 states holding primaries today. In Kentucky, in what's been the most expensive House race ever, President Trump is urging voters to oust Thomas Massie, calling into a campaign rally last night.
I say he's the worst Republican congressman in the history of the country. I think he's just horrible. He's been a horrible, horrible person.
The president's backing Massie's challenger. Massie says the seat belongs to the people, not the president. America's listening to Fox News.
70 degrees. Skies are cloudy this morning. At 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer in the QC Kinetics newsroom. I'm Mike Scott. Cook County State's Attorney's Office is launching a new task force to tackle crime on public transit. The announcement of the new task force follows recent high-profile crimes on the CTA, including the hijacking of a CTA bus at Knife Point last week. Charges are pending after a suspect was taken into custody in a deadly stabbing in the Norwood Park neighborhood Monday night. Chicago police say the stabbing took place around 11:15 p.m. in the 600 block of Harlem Avenue. Chicago police had a strong show of force along the North Avenue beach Monday afternoon after CPD and the Chicago Public Schools warned parents about 2 possible teen mobs planning a takeover. Flyers were seen being passed around on social media advertising a so-called Senior Ditch Day and calling on high school students to gather at North Avenue Beach. A 17-year-old died after being pulled from 54-degree Lake Michigan water in Waukegan Monday evening. Waukegan Fire confirming they responded to a report of a drowning on the lakefront in the Harbor Channel around 5:30. Governor J.B. Pritzker says everyone is paying more for gas, he believes, because of President Donald Trump's military action in Iran. When asked here in Chicago yesterday if he would consider suspending Illinois' gas tax in light of the high prices at the pump, Pritzker did agree prices are too high.
And the first and foremost thing that needs to happen is the president needs to end this war. We're all paying more than $1.50 more as a result of this war of choice by Donald Trump.
However, State Representative Brad Fritz says gas was more than $1 per gallon cheaper in western Iowa when he was there 2 weekends ago.
If all states bordering us can offer gas at a lower price, it's something we are doing here in Springfield that's causing that burden.
Fritz says the governor could provide relief anytime by suspending the state sales tax on gas. Indiana Governor Mike Braun announced a gas tax holiday back in April and extended the 30-day suspension on May 6. NFL owners will reportedly vote today to award the Super Bowl to Nashville in 2030. At that same meeting, the Bears are expected to address their stadium plan. White Sox lost to the Mariners. Cubs lost to Milwaukee. The news a service of Steiner Homes. Building homes is more than a business, it's a calling. Family-owned and dedicated to building custom homes with care, integrity, and craftsmanship you can trust. Visit SteinerHomesLTD.com. Steiner Homes, love where you live. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Scott Jennings says we need to recognize the problem.
What is going on here? This judge apologizing to someone who's trying to kill the president? Democrats programming violent left-wing radicals, blaming things like climate change instead of the people that they have radicalized? We have a left-wing violence problem in this country. Everyone knows it. Failure to acknowledge it is only going to make it worse.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer. WIND, Chicago.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Plumbers, today will be a good day. You will be profitable. Your clients will be nice. No one will stand over you and tell you how to fix the thing they actually hired you to fix. You will also feel at peace after switching to Progressive, America's #1 commercial auto insurer. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, #1 commercial auto insurer from the NAIC's 2024 National Premium Data.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250, micro, to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly unlimited.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $283. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Up in Addison, medical emergency, Link and Ellsworth in Waukegan, report of an accident at Belvedere right near the Tri-State Toll Road. And delays this morning on the Tri-State itself, stop and go northbound between the Reagan and the Eisenhower, and slowing up on the Stevenson inbound between First and Kedzie. Traffic is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device by downloading the app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect cloudy skies with a breeze, a few showers, and a thunderstorm. It'll be very warm in the morning, then turning cooler in the afternoon. Thunderstorms could bring localized damaging wind gusts. The high will reach 82. Tonight will be partly to mostly cloudy and cooler with a low of 48. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, two teenage boys, 17 and 18 years old, attacked the Islamic Center of San Diego yesterday, killing 3, before apparently turning guns on themselves. They were found dead inside a BMW from self-inflicted gunshot wounds, according to San Diego authorities. One of the 3 people that they murdered was a security guard named Amin Abdullah, who is a father of 8 and is credited with having acted swiftly to save a lot of lives yesterday. That's what the police chief said, calling his actions heroic. Here's what San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria had to say.
I want to be here to reemphasize what our police chief said. The threat currently has been addressed. Children are safe, and that is a good thing. Obviously, we've had the loss of life here at the Islamic Center of San Diego. And to our local Muslim community, my prayers are with you. I want to assure our Muslim community that we will do everything it takes to make sure that you can feel safe in this city. and no resource will be spared in making sure that our religious institutions and locations are protected in this sensitive time. This is a time for making sure that we do everything that's necessary to investigate and fully address the incident that was here today, but to reassert, as I always will, that hate has no place in the city of San Diego, and when it happens and crime of any nature occurs, we will hold you accountable.
It's some context that we know at this point. As you heard, report at the top of the hour, the mom of one of the suspects called police Monday morning, said her son, her gun, and her car were missing. Ostensibly the BMW, where they were found. She described her son as suicidal, said he was likely with a friend. Both were wearing fatigues, Mom said. In fact, officers were talking with her and trying to piece together where her son might be when word came over the transom of what was happening at the Islamic Center. Police said that the mom of one of the suspects said that her son left a note, but declined to provide additional details about that note. Okay, well, fine in the fog of the aftermath of a horrible crime like this, fine. But as with every one of these, we want to see it. What did he say? The chief characterized the note as including, quote, hate rhetoric, unquote, saying the crime is being investigated as a hate crime, and investigators are examining possible anti-Islamic writings found in the teen's car, according to law enforcement officials. It's interesting, the discussion, especially because we're talking about high school age young men, the discussion last week before Congress about religious freedom in the schools. And I'm not ascribing causation, and I'm not trying to minimize the horror of this crime in any way. I'm just talking about the larger discussion of religious-fueled hate, I guess. And it can go in a lot of different directions. And by the way, there are, I'm also not going to make false equivalences in terms of threat levels. But the discussion last week in a House committee hearing was really interesting. We didn't get to it last week. Get to it now. The featured attraction, just because he was so polished and measured and thoughtful, was this high school kid from Texas who went toe-to-toe with Jamie Raskin and provided important testimony elicited from Brandon Gill about what's happening in high schools, in middle schools even, in Texas. His name is Marco Hunter Lopez. And this was his exchange with Jamie Raskin, that Stephen Van Zandt impersonator. Remarkable, this 16-year-old more than held his own with, officer of the court, Jamie.
Is there anybody on the panel who thinks that we need a special law addressing any particular religious population, whether it's the Muslim, the Christian, the Jewish, the Hindu, the Mormon, or what have you? Or are we just saying that everybody should be held to secular law in America? And I'm happy to open it up to anybody. Mr. Hunter Lopez.
Thank you, Congressman, for the question. I think that you keep referring to a secular law. I think it's important to point out, I believe it was 56 of the 57 Declaration of Independence signers were Bible-believing, faith church-attending Christians. I believe it was the first original 13 colonies that required a declaration of faith. So I'm not acknowledging that.
Well, wait a second. Now you're traversing my territory now, Mr. Hunter Lopez. You brought it up. Are you aware that the Constitution of the United States does not establish a religion. It forbids the establishment of religion. Are you aware that it doesn't mention God?
So the Declaration of Independence mentions God 4 times. But what I was going to say...
Is the Declaration of Independence law?
So Declaration of Independence was declaring our independence from the tyranny of England.
Yeah.
But
the
what I was trying to finish is that
law.
I'm not, suggesting that we need to go back to taking, tests or saying that you have to acknowledge...
Wait, do you know
religion.
that Thomas Jefferson was denounced as an infidel who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Because he didn't believe in the establishment of religion, and he and Madison were emphatic about separating church and state. That's the whole glory of our constitutional design and our history, that they rebelled against centuries of religious warfare between the Catholics and the Protestants and witchcraft trials, Inquisition, Holy Crusades. America proclaimed the separation of church and state. What Thomas Jefferson described in his famous letter to the Danbury Baptists as a wall of separation.
That was a letter, not a law.
Okay, so your position is that America is a theocracy?
You didn't let me finish my original statement, and I understand you have limited time. But what I was going to say is I'm not suggesting we need to go back to anything that's in writing, but what I am saying is we need to acknowledge...
I think we should go back to something in writing. I think we should go back to the First Amendment.
Yes, the Constitution,
yes.
Obviously. But what I'm saying is that, how I said original colonies were requiring declaration of faith to run for office. I'm not saying we have
That's why we have a First Amendment.
What I'm saying
Can
is
you
that
let him finish?
Precisely why Jefferson wrote it.
We do need to acknowledge our Christian heritage in America. That's what I'm trying to...
You can acknowledge whatever heritage you want, but you can't impose an establishment of religion on other people. That's the greatness.
I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying we need to acknowledge our heritage. That's what I'm saying.
Everybody can acknowledge their own heritage. Do you agree with that?
American heritage, not just any heritage, is what I'm saying.
Oh, you don't think that you're allowed to acknowledge your Christian heritage or your Jewish heritage or your Muslim heritage?
I'm saying you members of Congress need to acknowledge American heritage.
Jamie Raskin is just so despicable. The straw man argument. Lecturing him about the Establishment Clause and that... and accusing him of something he didn't say, which is wanting to establish a theocracy. It's all so asinine. And this is what you get when there is discussions about the Judeo-Christian underpinnings of our nation. God's not mentioned in the Constitution. Do you think the Declaration is a founding document? Do you think that what is enshrined in the Constitution is informed by an understanding of the Almighty? Congressman, Counselor, Jamie Raskin, Esquire. But there was something else going on in these Texas schools, which is why Marco Hunter Lopez was there. And Brandon Gill got to the crux of it.
How has the school administration either encouraged or supported World Hijab Day?
Our principal actually wore the hijab 2 years in a row that we know of. It could be more. She's posted it, promoted on social media, saying she, quote, loved it, all caps. And they're just promoting these events like nothing. But our club, on the other hand, has to receive strict, first of all, we weren't approved in the first place. And then once we were the only club that couldn't have other privileges that other groups had. And they took down our posters. And so there's just a lot of things in this double standard, clearly, to favor the Islamic group.
And his club he's referring to wasn't a religious club, like the Muslim group, Republican club. No religious litmus test.
True that your school's libraries offer Islamic literature, like the Quran and other things?
Yes, so McMillan Junior High and Wiley ISD offers a Quran, but no Bible available.
But no Bible. So there's a Quran, but the Bible's not allowed.
Correct.
Is that true in multiple libraries?
From what I know, confirmed, it's McMillan Junior High is one that I know of. I can look at the other libraries and submit them to you if I find any other findings.
Okay. Have you talked to the school about why they would allow a Quran but not a Bible?
So I haven't, the principals actually run away from me and hide, so I can't have a discussion with my principals because I act like an adult and they act like children.
Yeah, well, you very much are acting like an adult. They probably don't want to be on the record with that policy, given how...
And, this carried over through this weekend with the Rededicate 250 prayer rally in D.C. And how aghast the D.C. press corps
was at the expressions of faith that were offered from Trump, reading a biblical passage for his offering for those assembled, and Hegseth and Vance and others, Rubio, also offering commentary on Christianity and the Christian underpinnings of the nation. Mike Johnson, too, Speaker Mike Johnson, and this really through MSNBC's or MS Now, whatever, Katie Tur, Keith Olbermann's former squeeze, really threw her for a loop.
What about this passage from Mike Johnson declaring that our rights do not derive from government, they come from you, our Creator, and Heavenly Father? Is this him putting God over the Declaration of Independence?
How do you put God over the Declaration of Independence? I don't even understand the question. We are endowed by our Creator. Katie, what do you think that's referencing? Did you know Thomas Jefferson was considered an infidel? Jamie Raskin. By Christian theocrats? Oh, okay. And what's your point? She put that question, is this Mike Johnson putting God over the Declaration of Independence, which outlines that we are we endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights and so forth. The deep understanding of our country that these leftists have. They have no regard for it because they have no regard for free society, because these are not freedom-loving people, despite their protestations. McKay Coppins is a staff writer for The Atlantic. That's who she put that question to. And, thankfully, he knows a little bit, so he politely provided the framework for an adult discussion, since Katie Tur was incapable of doing that. But nonetheless, of course, as his pro forma on that platform, on that station, you have to still express concerns about the expression of Christian beliefs in the public square.
I actually think that idea is not wholly uncommon. I mean, the idea that we have certain inalienable rights that come from God can be read in a fairly benign way, which is basically that we have innate human rights that our Constitution and our government, our democratic government, are meant to codify, right?
Right. Sort of makes America unique,
totally
right?
Abnormal.
Right.
I think that the thing that might alarm some people is some of the rhetoric that we heard at this rally, that we are in a spiritual battle, right? That the forces of good and evil are at work here, and that partisan politics is injected directly into the spiritual biblical rhetoric. We have heard that for the last couple of years. It's been ratcheted up more and more, especially since Donald Trump lost in 2020, and it can lead to some pretty dangerous places if it's not kept in check.
It sounds like they're in a bit of a spiritual battle at the schools that Marco Hunter Lopez attended in Texas. If you're forced to celebrate Islam and you're not allowed to even consume Christian thought, Qurans but no Bibles at the school, for example, as you heard from that high school student. Mark in Liberty Hill, Texas.
Hey, morning, Dan. Always enjoy listening to your show.
Thank you.
Dan, I am, keep up the good work. I am on the road a lot, and I will tell you, I'm originally from Illinois. I've been here in Texas in 4 years. And for your listeners, if you think that life cannot be different in a different state, I'm here to tell you that it is like night and day. I don't think people understand how that type of environment and just being around these people on a daily basis, it's not good for the soul. But my point for calling is, Dan, because I do listen, I try to be open to other ideas. And I listen to folks like Thom Hartmann, and I will tell you, my wife actually thought it was funny because I called her and I said, well, I got hung up again, and she knew exactly what I was talking about. But anyway, when somebody brings up topics, Dan, on the left, like a guy like Thom Hartmann, they immediately go down the rabbit hole like Jamie Raskin did with this young man. And my question to you is, why can't we get somebody like you that, Dan, that is intellectually honest, that is just very calm and composed, with somebody like Thom Hartmann? I think it would actually do our society some real good to have these these opposing views, because the people on the left are going to turn on their radio stations. We're going to do ours, and then the division's going to continue. Is that anything that could even happen?
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree. I mean, I like doing it. I like, as you know, if you listen to the show, we prioritize calls. People disagree. We try to get guests on from the left as much as possible. We've done debates here. I mean, it's been a while, but we did events where I debated Juan Williams. We did an event where I debated Donna Brazile. I'd like to do more of that. I would.
Is this something that these folks are opposed to?
Yeah.
Because
generally, yes.
And
yes.
Again, someone like Thom Hartmann, and I think he would be the equivalent of the left's Rush Limbaugh. And Dan, it's the rabbit hole one, and I only call when I really am well versed on the topic, because otherwise he's going to take me down the rabbit hole. So, but it's because I am pretty well informed. The intellectual dishonesty on that side, it's sickening.
It is.
It's sickening.
It is. Thanks for the call, Mark. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, there is I think there is a thirst for what you're saying too, is ideas to be presented side by side, because it's so easy to just exist in your silos. Just consume the content that reinforces what you already think. And you see efforts made at it. I think they're not very compelling. But the fact that they get so much attention, I mean, I like Scott Jennings, but those CNN roundtables that Abby Phillips are awful. I mean, they're completely pointless for the most part. Occasionally, there's an interesting exchange. Occasionally, there's not firing line. There's not even McLaughlin Group or Capital Gang. Nothing close to it, which is sort of a sad commentary on the nature of political discourse in the country. I agree. I don't know. I'll have to noodle on that more once my putting improves. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
My name is Dr. Michael Huber, co-founder of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Virago has earned its place in your medicine cabinet. It's your proven go-to for the flu, colds, and COVID. But you already know that part of the story. But today I want to tell you that if you're suffering from diabetes, hypertension, or autoimmune diseases, we want you to know that they share one common thread. They are inflammation machines. And that inflammation assaults your heart, your brain, and your kidneys 24/7. It's a silent, constant attack on your vital organs, wearing them down every single day. Taking Virago every day shields your heart, protects your kidneys, and guards your brain from chronic inflammation. Virago, the new protective standard in immunity.
Order your bottle of Virago online today at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oakbrook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, I can't believe Pete Crow Armstrong, PCA, after he told that fan who said to him, "You suck," because he does, because he's a Cub. He said, "Suck my blanking blank bitch." He said that he has no regrets. She decided to start talking smack, and I felt I needed to say it back. She said, "You suck." That is well within the bounds of heckling. What you said to her, outside the bounds. These classless Cubs. I don't know how you Cubs fans out there tolerate it. It's disgusting. And you always think you're so much more civilized than Sox fans. Well, who wants to defend PCA? All right, now it's time to check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Degrees, cloudy skies in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Expect clouds and a breezy morning. Couple of showers and storms could pass through later today. Governor Pritzker blasting Mayor Brandon Johnson over his weak and last-ditch efforts, according to the governor, to keep the Bears in Chicago.
Has come up with no plan at all about how the Bears would end up in the city of Chicago, so that's problematic. I'd love them to be in the city, but we're 3 years in now, and he still has no plan.
Pritzker saying Johnson has no plan that he's given to them for the team to remain in the city. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche appears on Capitol Hill for his first congressional testimony since taking over the Justice Department. The agency faces scrutiny over the nearly $1.8 billion fund to compensate allies of GOP President Donald Trump, who believe they were targeted politically. Gunmen killing 3 at an Islamic center in California.
5 people are dead, including the 2 gunmen at the Islamic Center of San Diego and Claremont. Among the victims was a security guard at the center. According to law enforcement, the 2 teen suspects died from self-inflicted gun wounds, and law enforcement started looking for the 2 teenagers before the shooting even started, when a mother had called police to report her son missing. San Diego police used license plate reader technology to track the 2 teen suspects, and that's when the active shooter calls started coming in. According to the center, this is the largest mosque in the San Diego community.
Fox's Alex Hogan. A 17-year-old died after being pulled from 54-degree Lake Michigan water in Waukegan Monday evening. Waukegan Fire responded around 5:30. The teen's friends telling fire and first responders they had been swimming in the channel called for help when the friend did not make it out of the water. Meng Chiang has been named the 18th president of Northwestern University. Chiang is currently the president of Purdue University.
I will come to every one of the 12 colleges and schools, chair every one of our 21 sports teams, visit our clinical partners at Northwestern Medicine and beyond, and participate in every cherished campus tradition.
His appointment begins January 1. Sox lost to the Mariners. Cubs surrender 13 hits in a 9-3 loss to the Brewers. A check of traffic and weather comes your way next on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt sees some red flags.
The framework includes, point 1, the U.S. and Iranian naval blockade will be gradually lifted during the detailed negotiation period. Red light, Detailed negotiation period. You don't need a detailed negotiation period. They need to stop firing at ships and let everybody out, and our blockade's got to continue.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com. Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tim, for more than 25 years, you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Can you give our listeners some examples of how you've helped clients over the years?
A couple of your listeners called in. They're a married couple. They're in their 60s. They were really concerned and tired of trying to manage their own investments. So their accounts were quite big, but they felt like they needed a little help with it so they didn't screw up at this stage of the game. So they couldn't afford to lose any money in the market moving forward, and trying to manage retirement on a fixed income was kind of a daunting task for them. So with about $1.5 million in 401k savings and other stocks and bonds, we rearranged their portfolio so that they had guaranteed future income, less volatility in the market, and of course tax savings. So now they have this peace of mind because they know that they have a protect and grow blueprint.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell them I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
Giving your liver a spring cleaning is easy with Active Liver from New Nordic. Search for Active Liver by New Nordic on Amazon, CVS, Wegmans, or GNC.
A check of the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Straight Talk Wireless. Every now and then you find a deal that actually feels like a win. So with Straight Talk Wireless, you get more and pay less. And a good deal. No contracts, no credit checks, no surprises. Find it at the same place you've always found straightforward prices. All on Verizon's 5G network, straighttalk.com. Eisenhower, coming inbound. St. Charles Road, accident left shoulder. Stevenson right now has an accident reported inbound at Cass Avenue. Delays on the Reagan eastbound. You're hitting the brakes at York Road, and an accident in northwest Indiana. Left lane blocked on I-65 northbound just before 61st. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but first, a check. Your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Warm this morning, cloudy, breezy throughout the day. Could have a thunderstorm and a high near 78.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
'Cause they got the beat, the campus beat, the campus beat. Yeah, the campus beat.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. By the way, I did get a text from 630 defending that foul-mouthed PCA, talking about Pete Crow Armstrong and the profane thing he uttered to an otherwise lovely young Sox fan. Saying what he said to her, that is not Major League badinage. That is not playful talk. No, that's bad. I'm demanding an apology from Pete Crow Armstrong to that woman and the entire Sox organization and the entire Sox world, White Sox world. And if not, I'm going to stick A.J. Pierzynski on him. So, on notice. All right, let's talk a little bit about the state of college. There's a reckoning happening in both seems like both some undergrads, some schools, both for undergrads as well as for graduate students, particularly MBAs. A little known fact, maybe a little appreciated fact, last year's BBB capped the aggregate federal debt that graduate students can take out at $100,000 and $200,000 for professional degrees like law and medicine. Previously, grad students could take out an unlimited amount of debt. And so now you have, for example, the University of California, Irvine said it will reduce tuition for its MBA program by $30,000 to $99,000, right under the $100,000 cap, because of course you want to remove the financial barrier for working professionals to be able to make it make financial sense to go get their MBA. And this comes on the heels of a story out last week about a fire sale on MBAs. More business schools are giving steep discounts on tuition that can save students up to 50% or tens of thousands of dollars a year. The price breaks tend to be for shorter, more specialized business degrees aimed at workers struggling to gain traction in a tough hiring market, as well as younger professionals who may be a bit concerned about the AI revolution and their prospects for an ROI on the MBA. Just a couple of examples. The Mitch Daniels School of Business at Purdue knocking 40% off its tuition next fall, which makes a 48-hour credit program $36,000 for out-of-state students, down from $60,000. In-state tuition $35,000. The University of California Business School, Irvine, I just mentioned, just cut more than $30,000 off. Johns Hopkins Carey Business School giving a 50% scholarship to students who graduate from a Maryland college this spring and enter one of its specialized master's programs. Washington University in St. Louis launched a $10,000 scholarship for professionals whose careers have been affected by AI. So there's a lot of action here. It's good. On the undergrad front, University of Chicago is planning to offer free tuition for students from families making less than $250,000 a year. I mean, $250,000 is not bad, but it's not great if you're paying $100,000 a year to send your kid to University of Chicago, obviously. Starting in the fall of 2027, students whose families earn less than $250,000 a year will be able to attend tuition-free. Students whose families make less than $125,000 a year will also get, in addition to free tuition, free housing, meals, and other fees waived. Right now, the cost of tuition, housing, and other fees total just about $100,000 at UFC. The same at Northwestern. But this is smart because you want to attract the best students. And the best students don't always necessarily come from the wealthiest households, quite obviously. Harvard is doing something similar. Columbia, MIT have waived tuition for students whose families bring in less than a certain amount, typically between $150,000 and $200,000. Northwestern is offering free tuition to most students from families making less than $150,000. And most students whose families bring in less than $70,000 a year attend the school free of charge. This UFC program is consistent. A lot of these quote unquote elite schools are having to be more financially resilient than in past years. And that cap on the amount of debt you can accumulate as part of the BBB, that's, the kind of reckoning long overdue. I wish you'd get the government out of the student loan program altogether, because you're just subsidizing higher tuition, and really offer a more competitive marketplace. But it's a start. It's a start. Everybody wants to talk about PCA now. I mean, these Cubs fans. All right, quickly. Richard in Evanston, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, I'm a friend of yours, and I enjoy your show very much. But, PCA did apologize, and you completely gloss over it. So it sort of sounds like the media and yourself in this case.
Well, I didn't say. He said she was talking smack. He said it something profane again. He's got a real potty mouth, that PCA. And so I responded. That's what he said. I didn't. If I missed the apology, then fine. But he also
The apologies.
But he also said he also defended himself. He defended himself. Did he apologize after he defended himself, or did he defend himself and excuse himself after he apologized? Which was it?
I don't know. What you just said is kind of confusing to follow, to be honest. He shouldn't have said it. I agree with you.
Yes.
He shouldn't have said it. But, a good friend of mine works at White Sox Park. He says, he cracks me up. He goes, people down there are animals. And he comes home from work. Like, people are animals down there. I can't take it.
Yeah, well, there is that. Yeah. I mean, I've perhaps borne witness to some intemperate remarks from Sox fans. Perhaps. I will neither confirm nor deny. Joanne in Hoffman Estates. What was his apology? What did he say specifically, Joanne? Peace.
Okay, it was on Marquee Network before the Brewers game, and it was quite extensive. It went on and on and on. In fact, they kept prodding him. He said that is not the type of language that he's very upset that he chose that type of language. He also said that he did not react properly in the situation. He also said that he has 2 daughters, and he apologized to womenhood. And he said that anyone who knows him in his life knows that is not how he speaks to women.
Well, that's how he spoke to a woman. I mean, it happened. But
well,
no, I got it. I got it.
I don't know what you want.
Well, I want a specific apology.
I'll tell you what
I want an apology
want.
specific to Sox fans.
I don't want fake news coming from this station, okay?
Yeah, okay. All
Why
right.
don't you go look it up?
Take it easy, Cubs fans. You don't want to go toe-to-toe with the Sox fan, okay? You guys are not equipped to deal with heckling the way Sox fans can heckle. And obviously we got a rise out of your golden boy PCA. And now we get the bedwetters, the bedwetting Cubs fans. I mean, do you want me to play the Lee Elia rant? Do I need to play the Lee Elia rant? David in Winnetka.
Yes, I want to hear the Lee Elia rant.
Yeah.
So
who doesn't?
Here's the thing, man. You're very big on free speech, and remember I called in. It was a few months before Kirk assassination, and my point was that people with an audience need to rein in what they say, how they say it, who they say it to. You at that time called me one of them, a demotard. And the thing is that
I don't use that. I don't use that phrase. So no, I didn't call
No.
you that.
I did. You didn't use that phrase, but you called me one of them, meaning a Democrat. So my point is that this crow's out there. He got, in the heat of the moment, he let himself go, and it was classless and it was whatever. That's the younger generation. They're classless for the most part, in my mind.
Yeah.
But my point being, though, is that if he can't say that, then how could I be? How could you consider me one of the left by reining in speech that could potentially lead to violence, like the death of Charlie Kirk? It seems like a double standard.
I'm not saying that PCA should be imprisoned. I'm not saying that he should be fired or something like that. Although, I mean, it's within the bounds. They could, his private employer. But
free speech is free speech, isn't
it? Free speech is a restraint on government. We're not talking about the government intervening to stop PCA from using profanity in direction of Sox fans, David. What are you talking about? Free speech is a restraint on government. We're talking about the propriety of the speech. We're talking normative, the how gauche and pimply it was of PCA to say the things he said, not whether he has a constitutional right to say it.
Exactly my point. So when you call me one of them, how does that make sense?
When I called you one of whom? For what?
Be a Democrat.
For what?
For the people with a platform and an audience like that, somebody in a position calling for people like what's her face, Pelosi, saying like, you need to get out there and basically riot. You need to do this. You need to do that. Calling for violence. Those kind of things need to be reined in. That was my point.
Well, reined in by who? You're talking about reining in government. I'm talking about reining in like good judgment. Do you understand the difference between the two?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm not saying it wasn't a classist thing to say, but again, to me, that's my mind. The younger generation is not nearly as classy as we were when we were coming up.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, maybe you remember yourself as being more classy than you actually were. We have a tendency to do that as we age. That wasn't how we were. Well, I don't know. You may want to review the record. Thanks for the call, David. Yeah, I was just like, and by the way, advocating violence specifically is a different category. That's, you can cross over outside of protected speech into, a criminal action. So that's not. Yeah, I mean, do I really need to? I mean, these? So I think somebody needs to take advantage of these tuition breaks. Text from 219. Dan, do those scholarships you mentioned, are they available to all households within the income limits, or are white heterosexual Christian males excluded? Probably at Northwestern they're excluded. I'm just guessing. Maybe not, but probably for the other ones. And of course, I'm getting the Legee father and son tandem. Yeah, in response to my Lee Ilya. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's not like dad. It's not like PCA and his dad beat up an umpire or anything. Sox fans can tend to be, over exuberant from time to time. Tom in Blue Island.
Good morning, Dan.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Mount Greenwood. Had to listen to plenty of grief for being a Cubs fan, but it was just the circumstance that the Cubs were on every day when I got home from school. I am not a fan of Pete Crow Armstrong per se. I mean, he seems like he's going to be a good player, but I believe he's overhyped. I am 10 times the Pete Crow Armstrong fan now. The Sox suck. They got big mouths. They're tough. They're not as tough as they think. We used to go to the Cubs Sox game there every year, and we'd almost get in a fight with some big mouth punk. This woman, if she was white, she was assuredly a bomber. And I'm glad.
What's a bomber? What does a bomber mean? What does a bomber mean?
A bomber's a fat ass white broad.
No, well, that's fine. I don't think she was actually. She is white. She was white, but didn't look like it from the video I saw. But I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk something high-minded, like higher education, and now I'm being dragged down into this Cubs Sox thing because I dared to make a comment about PCA's, particularly colorful language. All right.
Look at it this way, Dan. The baseball was better. I know that the Cubs and Sox have rarely been good at the same time. But baseball was a little better in the city when that rivalry was there, and so
I agree.
Right after the Sox won the World Series, the Cubs were terrible. One of my heroes, without a doubt, was Michael Barrett when he clocked A.J. Pierzynski right in the chops. The
Lucky
Cubs
punch.
were terrible. The Sox were coming off winning the World Series, and I thought that was just awesome. And I believe it's good for Chicago and good for, even though there isn't much to be good.
Thanks for the call time. I'm proposing. I know they got rid of Country Music Night, but the next time the Cubs go to the South Side, I think you make it Bat Night. That's my proposal. We'll see. You didn't report the apology. Fine, I missed the apology. But he defended himself. He doubled down either before or after he apologized. I don't know the sequence of it, and I also don't really care. I'm saying his initial response should have just been, "I apologize. I was wrong," and walk away from it. That's fine. Get a little frustrated because you're losing 2 out of 3 to the Southsiders. I get it. But he defended it at first, saying she started talking smack, so I felt the need to respond. I think only under pressure, maybe his daughters or his wife said something to him. I don't know. Randy in Sandwich.
Dan, I want to file a motion to have you recuse yourself from this sale and witch trial under the grounds of bias, that you're a Sox fan, okay? And I want to seek immunity for my client that anything during the Crosstown Classic goes. There's no rules, okay? There hasn't been rules before. Why are we starting now?
All right, fine. I'll step down. Ken in Grays Lake.
Hey, Dan, she was a Sox fan. If he'd have said it with a little lilt in his voice over cocktails, she probably would have done it.
Okay. See, you can't just rise to the level of PCA, the apologetic PCA. You have to bring the conversation back down to the gutter, you Cubs fans. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, in the words of Rodney King, can't we all just get along?
I'll say what I said when he said it. No.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878. AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world. It's just the history you don't know, and Frank does. I hope this is not about Pete Crow Armstrong. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. In the 1964 Heart of Atlanta Motel versus the United States decision, the Supreme Court unanimously held that the anti-discrimination provisions of the Civil Rights Act that year were constitutional and that the federal government had the power to regulate commerce among the several states as established 140 years earlier in Gibbons versus Ogden. This was an easy case to decide, and it greatly upset Lester Maddox, owner of Pickrick Restaurant, whose case was merged with Heart of Atlanta as he claimed he only engaged in intrastate commerce. He closed his restaurant and got elected governor in 1966 and then served as a spiteful lieutenant under Jimmy Carter 4 years later. In 1883, the court had found differently when it declared the 1875 Civil Rights Act unconstitutional, as it found the 14th Amendment and its equal protection provisions only applied to state action against an individual. In the later Warren Court deliberations, though, one of the key points was that the mobility of people had greatly increased since 1883, and therefore interstate commerce had become more embedded in our daily lives, giving the federal government more power than it may have had before, so regulating motels and restaurants was now allowed under the new Civil Rights Act. Much later in 2012, Chief Justice John Roberts recognized the obvious, and that having the federal government require a person to buy health insurance would be an instance of going well beyond the powers inherent to the Commerce Clause. But being the political animal that he is, Roberts magically concocted the argument that the mandate was really a tax. Since Congress has that power under Article 1, Obamacare survived. But this clarity wasn't the case on income taxes until 1913 when the 16th Amendment was ratified. Today we mock celebrate this amendment on a holiday called Tax Freedom Day, which for this year was just a few weeks ago on April 29th. So now we are free, which begs the question, what exactly is our status every year before Tax Freedom Day? It took nearly 15 years to repeal the 18th Amendment on prohibition. As tardy as we would be, we should do the same with the 16th.
Ooh, a call for repealing the federal income tax. You're singing from Donald Trump's hymnal, right? Although I think he thought that all the tariff money that was going to come rolling in could replace the money from the income tax. That's not happening. Trump seems to be a little bit too much of a big spender to really make that work.
Well, for sure. As I say, if we cut the spending, it could. But I don't see how the 16th Amendment is going to go with the I saw this video on Kevin Warsh interviewed by Peter, I forget his last name, from Stanford. And
Robinson,
yeah, and how he talks about a productivity boom coming with AI, and I agree with that, and I don't see how that is congruent with the income tax. I really don't, so it has to go.
Thank you, as always, Frank. Wonderfully done. We'll post I'll post Frank's commentary on X. See Stephen Tucker, 7:07. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
The plan was to resume bombing Iran today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
I put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever.
And President Trump says he halted that plan to end the ceasefire because several Gulf countries asked him to let talks continue to try to make a deal.
And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also.
The president is telling the military to be ready at a moment's notice.
But until some sort of peace agreement is signed, Iran remains in control over the Strait of Hormuz, with nearly all commercial ships still effectively blocked from transiting the strait. Crucial supplies of fertilizer are blocked, as well as other critical goods. In some areas of the world, there are now deep shortages of fuel.
Fox's Jeff Paul in Dubai. They're voting now in 4 of the 6 states holding primaries today. In Kentucky, the most expensive primary race ever pits Thomas Massie, who the president calls the worst Republican congressman in history, against a Trump-backed challenger, Ed Galrine, who tells Fox
he has blocked the president's attempt to unleash our economy, reduce taxes, build the border wall.
Massie says outside money is trying to buy a seat that belongs to the people, not the president. They're also starting to vote now in Alabama, and this is unusual.
For voters in 4 of Alabama's 7 congressional districts, voting will be open, but results will be immediately canceled due to the U.S. Supreme Court recently ruling Alabama can throw out its current congressional district map in favor of an old one. The districts will have another primary in August.
Fox's Eben Brown. Security's beefed up at mosques in the U.S. The day after a shooting at the Islamic Center in San Diego, 3 people were killed in an attack carried out by teenagers found dead in a car blocks away.
The suspects at this point appear to have died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds.
San Diego Police Chief Scott Wall, a mother of one of the teens, called the cops to report her son was missing along with weapons in her car, and he was suicidal. America's listening to Fox News.
Clouds and 70 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer in the QC Kinetics newsroom. I'm Mike Scott. Cook County State's Attorney's Office launching a new task force trying to tackle crime on public transit.
Is making sure that those who present the biggest danger to the public are detained.
The announcement by Eileen Burke of a new task force follows recent high-profile crimes on the CTA, like the hijacking of a CTA bus at Knife Point last week. An investigation is underway after a 13-year-old boy was shot in Joliet. Police say the teen was found yesterday with a critical gunshot wound in the 400 block of Market Street. Funeral arrangements have been made for a Chicago firefighter who died after suffering a medical emergency during a training incident. Steve Decker's visitation will be held Thursday at 2 p.m., beginning at that time at the Colonia Funeral Home in Chicago. A private funeral and cremation ceremony will be held later on in the week. Governor Pritzker blasting Mayor Brandon Johnson over his last-ditch efforts to try and keep the Bears in Chicago.
Has come up with no plan at all about how the Bears would end up in the city of Chicago, so that's problematic. I'd love them to be in the city, but we're 3 years in now, and he still has no plan.
And today, NFL owners will reportedly vote to award the Super Bowl in 2030 to Nashville. At that same meeting, the Bears are expected to address their stadium plan. Sox lost to the Mariners 6-1. Cubs fell to the Brew Crew 9-3. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Larry Elder warns of trusting this regime.
Unclear whether Iran has agreed to permanently suspend its pursuit of a nuclear bomb. This is an evil, evil regime. They have been at war against us for 47 years. And there's no reason to believe that it is some sort of deal, that they will stick to it, they will abide by it, that they won't break it.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. WIND, Chicago.
Memorial Day is more than a long weekend. It's a time to honor the men and women who gave everything for this country. And what better way to show your patriotism than with a handcrafted American flag built to last for generations? At UniqueWoodenFlags.com, every flag is handcrafted from quality wood with a beautiful rustic finish that turns any room, office, garage, or backyard into a tribute to America. Choose from classic American flags, military branch flags, thin blue line designs, Don't Tread on Me flags, our very popular Trump collection, and more. These aren't cheap plastic flags from a big box store. These are handcrafted pieces of American pride. Honor our heroes this Memorial Day and give a gift that actually means something. Visit uniquewoodenflags.com. That's uniquewoodenflags.com.
Platform safety is critical at your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
707 The News is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience at surroundchicago.com. Kennedy, traveling inbound stop-and-go traffic between Cumberland and Montrose. Ike, an accident right shoulder outbound at Gulf Road. Stevenson, you have gapers to an inbound crash between LaGrange Road and Cass Avenue, and we're watching delays build this morning on the Tri-State. Debris in a left lane northbound between the Markham Toll to right before I-57. Traffic is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show at 560theanswer.com/podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect cloudy skies with a breeze, a few showers, and a thunderstorm. It'll be very warm in the morning, then turning cooler in the afternoon. Thunderstorms could bring localized damaging wind gusts. The high will reach 82. Tonight will be partly to mostly cloudy and cooler with a low of 48. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Trump and Mark Cuban making nice. It's easy to make nice with Trump. You just have to start complimenting him and fall in line. And that's what Mark Cuban has done as it pertains to Trump RX. Trump returning to a discussion about affordability when it comes to things like health care and specifically prescription drugs. Had a confab that featured Cuban and others who are promoters of Trump RX, which, of course, Trump called the hottest thing in medicine right now. It's hot.
Since that launch in February, TrumpRx.gov has already been visited more than 10 million times and has saved American consumers over $400 million already, and it's really the hottest thing in medicine. It's been amazing. I asked Dr. Oz, how's it doing? Bobby was there. He said, nobody's ever seen anything like this, so it's great. People are saving a lot of money. Over the next 10 years, the Council of Economic Advisors estimates that our most favored nation drug policies will save Americans over $500 billion. And this has been the greatest breakthrough in lowering health care costs in modern history.
And Trump went on to talk about the addition of more generic drugs to TrumpRx. So it's growing, and that means the savings gets passed on to you.
We're increasing the number of drugs available on TrumpRx by nearly 7 times, adding over 600 affordable generics to the website, working with industry partners. Cost-effective generic drugs are often available at just a tiny fraction of the price of their brand name equivalents, and in theory, they're the same thing. Sometimes they're better, with the same dosage, the same effectiveness, and the same active ingredients, yet many consumers do not think to ask for them. They don't know about them. By incorporating this massive catalog of low-cost generics at TrumpRx.gov, consumers will now have one source to ensure that they're getting the lowest possible cost on their prescription. So they have a real option now. Today, they have something that they've never had before. They've never had anything like this or even close. With these additions, TrumpRx will feature the best and lowest prices on prescriptions used by tens of millions of Americans already. And in some cases, the discounted generics available through TrumpRx may be offered at an even lower cash price than the out-of-pocket insurance cost, which has always been the lowest, but we're going to be lower. This means that the TrumpRx.gov should always be your first stop before you go to the pharmacy to pick up your prescription.
Well, Mark Cuban was all smiles, praising the president for TrumpRx.
Mr. President, I think other than you, I've been the biggest proponent of TrumpRx.com. And the reason for that is Republicans want cheaper drugs, independents want cheaper drugs, Democrats want cheaper drugs, and together, I think we're going to do something special. What makes Cost Plus Drugs different is that when you click through TrumpRx to our site, not only will you see a great price, but you'll see our actual cost and that we only mark it up 15%. And what makes this incredible, Mr. President, all the volume and all the people that are going to come from the site, as our volumes go up, our costs go down, which means we'll be ending up charging less to people over a period of time. So this is a special announcement. This is a special partnership. 559 of those drugs are ours, so we're really excited to be part of this. Thank you so much for having me.
You're listening to a guy who's not a big fan of government-private partnerships. They rarely go well. They rarely offer what they promise to, and it's just none of the government's business, frankly. The things that government shouldn't be involved in. So let's separate some fact from, some fact from fiction in terms of what was said, because I think some of the things that Trump said don't actually square with reality. And this is coming from a Trump supporter, but he is healthinsurancementors.com first. See Stephen Tucker, founder and principal broker, healthinsurancementors.com, the most knowledgeable man about health insurance in the Western world. Stephen, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Jen.
TrumpRx is unprecedented. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Is that true?
Maybe the website name, which Mark Cuban incorrectly called TrumpRx.com. So that's new, TrumpRx.gov since February. But, the truth is GoodRx.com is running TrumpRx.gov. And the thousands of discounted prescriptions that are available at GoodRx.com have been around for many, many years. My clients have been using them. Millions of Americans around the country have been using those discounts. So it really is nothing new. The website itself is new, TrumpRx.gov, not .com, and it links, of course, now to Mark Cuban's site, which has about 600 generic drugs that you can use, which is a welcome addition. But it's basically now kind of like the central hub. You don't have to open another browser window and go to GoodRx.com. The exact same prices at GoodRx.com are now at TrumpRx.gov, as are the 600 generics that Mark Cuban offers through his SaveRx.
Well, so is it just a convenience factor? It's not a force multiplier in terms of cost?
Well, I think that's really the whole purpose here, right? If Mark, obviously these two men have not been fans of each other for a long time, but they're resolving their issues, I think, in Mark's case, in an effort to drive down prices even farther, because as he stated correctly, if you have millions more people aware of this and they're using a federal site now, then the cost due to utilization, of course, will drive down prices even farther. At least that's the goal that Mark Cuban is stating. And I think it's possibly achievable, but it is certainly nothing new.
Would it be better from a policy perspective to eliminate PBMs, the middlemen, altogether?
Yes, and I've said that for a long time, but I think even more important to that is to address the 340B issue. And this is something that I think Cuban has spoken about once or twice. The president hasn't addressed it, but that is really a grift that has happened since the expansion of Obamacare. The 340B was developed in the early 1990s, and it was to help these underserved communities, places where hospitals, were set in place to help those who did not have a lot of income. And so those hospitals specifically that were supposed to serve underserved communities would get drug costs for half the price. And so the manufacturers of those drugs would give those hospitals those drugs at half the price, 50% off, which is a tremendous discount. And so along comes Obamacare, and that program has exploded by 74% utilization from where it was pre-Obamacare. And so now what's going on is not only are underserved hospitals in underserved communities, but hospitals like our own Northwestern and the Henry Ford Health Center in Detroit, and all these areas in wealthy communities are now benefiting. The hospitals are taking the discount and upselling the cost of those drugs to all of these affiliated pharmacies, some of them as far away as Hawaii, and charging people with private health insurance more for the cost of drugs, which is driving up the cost for brand name drugs specifically. And there's hardly any oversight as to where this money is going, and it is billions and billions of dollars. Hospitals, for example, are now building new centers with their 340B revenue because nobody is watching it. And so that's something the president should address right off the top. And I haven't heard him speak about it at all.
Do you think, just looking back on it, going back to the George W. era, do you think that Medicare Part D was a mistake? That we would be in a better place with prescription drugs if not for the entitlement and the government the government, the associated government pricing and centrally planned infrastructure?
I don't know about that, Dan, because the cost of these drugs due to these scams, everybody, by the way, should read the 340B grift in the Wall Street Journal, a brilliant article that exposed all of this nonsense. But when you have schemes like this going on, where the cost of brand name drugs and specialty drugs are ridiculous, thousands and thousands of dollars a month, and you have sick seniors, for example, that can't afford that, I think the Medicare Part D program has been a huge benefit for those people because, there's caps on what they can spend out of pocket. So I think it's been a huge benefit for seniors in this country, not a harm, but a benefit. But do I think the free market would work better without schemes like 340B and without Obamacare, Medicaid expansion? Of course.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
Yeah.
But these things exist, and we have to live in a reality.
No, I know. No, I concur. I'm not saying that you can just pull that Jenga piece out of it. I get it, but I'm just saying, thinking about this as sort of a lesson in public policy making and markets versus central planning. If you had, it's one of those, if you had to do it all over again, would we have done Medicare and Medicaid and then all of the bolt-ons over the last 65 years the way we did them? And I would argue no. I wanted to give you an opportunity. I know we had one of your favorite people on last week, Dr. Zeke Manuel, Have you picked up his book about the 6 simple rules for healthy living yet?
No.
All right.
I have not. I don't plan on it.
All right.
My stomach turned during that interview.
Well, I like to challenge people's intestinal fortitude when they listen to the show. So I asked him about this inflation tax associated with Obamacare that you mentioned the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal opined about, and his basic response to the surtaxes that are not indexed for inflation and are sort of hitting more middle income taxpayers each year. Some of what we talked about last time you were on about the premium spikes that people are feeling.
My God, yes.
That he said, well, of course we need to revisit it. You set something up 15, 16 years ago, and you got to continue to, maintain it. You got to make sure you do your diagnostic testing, and you got to make sure you put new tires and fill up the windshield wiper fluid and all those things to make sure that it's still a finely tuned machine. So we just need some updating of it, and maybe that would include the indexing of those taxes. But by and large, Obamacare has been a wonderful innovation, and it just needs a little bit of tweaking.
Yeah, sure. I would have loved to have been in your position during that interview with Dr. Zeke. I would have asked him a couple of questions, like, does he think it's good that nationwide we have lost 146 health insurance companies in the individual marketplace? Does he think it's good that the state of Illinois and the state of Michigan are the only 2 states left in the entire Midwest that offer PPO policies in the individual marketplace, and all the other states only offer restrictive HMO policies? Does he think it's good that the cost of the cheapest bronze plan for a couple in their 50s now costs $2,400 a month with a $10,600 deductible? Does he think it's good that due to Medicaid expansion, we have these grifts like 340B that I mentioned, where it was supposed to help people who can't help themselves, and now, of course, it's making hospitals rich and driving up the cost of prescription drugs, especially brand and specialty, for everyone, not just those who have insurance, but those who don't have insurance and those in Medicare and Medicaid. So I would have had a lot of questions to ask Dr. Zeke, but unfortunately I was not the host that day.
Fundamentally, I wanted to hear more about like his, being a cyclist and making chocolate at home. Those are the topics I'm more interested in. But is the fundamental problem, which always turns out to be the fundamental problem, with the first thing you said, that it artificially consolidated the sector through government coercion effectively. Yeah. And so you don't have a competitive marketplace. And when you don't have a competitive marketplace, these sorts of price spikes, rationing, oligopoly pricing essentially occur.
Yeah. And of course, the elimination of so many other insurers that could drive down costs, right? I mean, we know the basic principle, economics 101, that, you're going to drive down prices due to healthy competition. But, we're in a position now in the state of Illinois where we have basically one monster, and that's Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, that offers a PPO. They've eliminated all their competition. We've got a handful of other carriers, and I mean a handful, like 4, that offer restrictive HMOs. And that's our only choice. We don't have any other options. And then you add to that Governor J.B. Pritzker, who has demonized non-Obamacare health insurance, known as short-term health insurance, calling it junk insurance for many years, specifically because it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions. You have to understand that in free states like Indiana, or even lesser so Wisconsin and Iowa and all the states that surround us, I have clients who are paying half the monthly premium that they pay with Obamacare, with about half the deductible, they are able to lock their premium in for 3 years, thanks to President Trump, with short-term health insurance. And unlike the Blue Cross PPO, they have national PPO coverage, which is impossible to obtain under Obamacare any longer in the individual marketplace, specifically because President Trump allowed people to buy non-Obamacare health insurance, specifically short-term health insurance, and lock it in for 3 years instead of only 3 months, as it was under President Biden. And so because they live in Indiana, where it's run by rational Republicans, they actually have affordable health insurance, Dan, and they don't have to worry about rate increases for 3 years. It's locked in for 3 years. So is it bad because it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions? No, it's not bad. If you don't have pre-existing conditions, it will save you a veritable fortune. But it's nice to have those options. We don't have those options in the state of Illinois. We have Obamacare and Obamacare only.
Mm-hmm. And just updating a story we've talked to you the last couple of times you've been on. I know that we have there was a problem with the state's website, where that's just where you had to. Yeah, wait a minute, I'm understating it slightly, but I mean, but remind us what the issue was, why this is unique to Illinois, and where things stand with this problem that Illinoisans were having with signing up for health insurance here.
Yeah, so we taxpayers paid $1 billion to perfect healthcare.gov, and it does work perfectly now. It took 16 years. But it does work perfectly now, and it has very little glitches or problems. Applications are completed quickly, and it's been working great for about 15 of the last 16 years. We can no longer use healthcare.gov, even though we taxpayers in Illinois and taxpayers around the country paid $1 billion to perfect it. We must now use what, in my opinion, is the worst functioning website I've ever had the displeasure of being forced to use, and that is getcovered.illinois.gov. Not only does it crash 18 to 22 times when you're trying to complete an application. Now imagine that during open enrollment when everyone is panicking to try to get their health insurance by the cutoff date, right? But then it was also responsible for, and now they're blaming Blue Cross, but during this transition, we had all these seminars. It's all going to be great. We've really upped our technology and everything's going to be fantastic. It was an unmitigated disaster because people did what they were supposed to do. They paid their premiums, right, early in December to get a January 1st effective date. And by the middle of January, some of them into March did not have health insurance because the premium was never transferred from getcovered.illinois.gov to Blue Cross. And it was just an unmitigated disaster, totally unnecessary, didn't have to be done, but now we're all forced to use that site. And you can ask anyone who's had to use it, even those who work at getcovered.illinois.gov, what a disaster it is. And I don't see any improvements in, almost June? And it's still crashing.
That's really it's really surprising because J.B. Pritzker, as you know, is a very successful tech entrepreneur.
Of course.
So I'm really surprised to hear that that's been so challenging. But the real problem, though, you talked to us about before, was the premiums that get transferred. So you paid, but you didn't actually have coverage. And so has that been remedied for your clients?
Oh, it finally has. Yeah, it took until about the 4th week of March, and their quote unquote ticket was elevated to emergency level, and they finally got health insurance. But of course, by that point, you have to pay January, February, and March all at once. What a pleasure.
Well, part of the privilege of living in the land of Lincoln, I suppose. One question from 847, just because this is something Trump has promoted to, and I didn't ask it. He talked when he had these confabs with the pharma companies, the Oval Office, and so forth, not dissimilar to the one he had yesterday. Where you talk about, we've basically put the arm on the pharma companies, and now we're getting the same drug prices as other countries were getting. Is that a real thing? Was there a real discrepancy, and now there's real savings? Or at the end of the day, does it go back to what you said? GoodRx was providing the prices before Trump RX. It's just basically a new facade on the same program.
Well, we won't know because the president gave Pfizer a 3-year waiver from his tariff, right? And so we're not really going to know until 3 years from now because Pfizer is operating completely, and Pfizer is gigantic, obviously. They are operating completely outside of those new tariff requirements. But as I have said all the time with these kind of price controls, these are things that we would expect from Democrat presidents, not from Republican presidents. And price controls are always bad, as you and I both know. Mm-hmm. But in this situation, we're not going to really know the end result of it. But my concern is when you do this most favored nation, right, situation, which eventually may drive down costs even further in the U.S., there's a couple things that happen. Pharmaceutical companies stop selling drugs in countries where those drugs are desperately needed by people. Honestly, they're not Americans, obviously, but they still need access to those prescriptions. But if you force the cost of drugs to be most favored nation status, in other words, it must be the cheapest if sold in the U.S., then pharmaceutical companies, and there's evidence of this already, they just stop selling those drugs in those countries, right? And so how many lives are impacted negatively because of that? That's one of my primary concerns, as I said from the beginning, when you do this kind of price control.
C. Stephen Tucker, founder, principal broker, healthinsurancementors.com. CS, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay.
And C.S. Tucker joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Memorial Day is more than a long weekend. It's a time to honor the men and women who gave everything for this country. And what better way to show your patriotism than with a handcrafted American flag built to last for generations? At UniqueWoodenFlags.com, every flag is handcrafted from quality wood with a beautiful rustic finish that turns any room, office, garage, or backyard into a tribute to America. Choose from classic American flags, military branch flags, thin blue line designs, Don't Tread on Me flags, our very popular Trump collection, and more. These aren't cheap plastic flags from a big box store. These are handcrafted pieces of American pride. Honor our heroes this Memorial Day and give a gift that actually means something. Visit UniqueWoodenFlags.com. That's UniqueWoodenFlags.com.
Everywhere you turn, it's plus, plus, plus. But at Hassellus Mattress, nobody has more plus than us. Our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $293. Plus, through Monday, get a free adjustable base. Plus, a huge selection of Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and other big-name brands. Plus, free next-day delivery and setup. Plus, employee-free showrooms. Whew! All these pluses have me feeling nonplussed. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassellus.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, all things Illinois policy related, including the latest offering from Jessica Jackson of Chicago Flips Red before the Cook County Board. Very entertaining. We'll start there before we discuss matters Illinois related with Mark Glennon, wirepoints.org. 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
69 degrees. Skies are cloudy. Chance of a thunderstorm today. And we'll start on the roads. On the Stevenson Expressway this morning, inbound at Cache, you have 3 lanes blocked with a serious accident involving semis. Had steel coils roll off and onto the roadway, and there's leaking fuel. It is a mess. It'll be there for a while. You can get by on the left shoulder. Police say a shooting at a San Diego mosque has killed 3 and left both shooters dead of apparent self-inflicted wounds. FBI Director Kash Patel.
We are not going to tolerate any acts of violence whatsoever, especially terrorist act of violence based on radical ideology and misplaced faith.
One of the victims was a mosque security guard who police say played a pivotal role in preventing the attack from being more deadly. Today is a busy primary day with elections in 6 states for the U.S. House, Senate, and governor races. Swatch's new Royal Pop Pocket Watch has sparked outbursts of chaos worldwide. The Swiss watchmaker saying there's no shortage of the items in spite of weekend crowds and brawling at stores. Police in Paris had to use tear gas to break up a crowd. Charges are pending after a suspect was taken into custody in the Norwood Park neighborhood Monday night. Chicago police saying a stabbing took place around 11:15 in the 6000 block of North Harlem Avenue. A 24-year-old man got into a verbal and physical altercation with a known male suspect. A 17-year-old died after being pulled from 54-degree Lake Michigan water in Waukegan Monday evening. Waukegan Fire confirmed they responded to a report of a drowning on the lakefront in the Harbor Channel around 5:30. Governor J.B. Pritzker says everyone is paying more for gas, but only because of President Donald Trump.
And the first and foremost thing that needs to happen is the president needs to end this war. We're all paying more than $1.50 more as a result of this war of choice by Donald Trump.
However, State Representative Brad Fritz says gas was more than $1 per gallon cheaper in western Iowa than Illinois when he traveled there last weekend.
If all states bordering us can offer gas at a lower price, it's something we are doing here in Springfield that's causing that burden.
Fritz saying the governor could provide easy relief anytime by suspending the state sales tax on gas. Indiana Governor Mike Braun announced a gas tax holiday back in April and now has extended the 30-day suspension on May 6. White Sox lost to the Mariners. Cubs lost to the Brew Crew, and a check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com.
It's Reveille. Governor Pritzker's socialist redistribution of tax dollars continues. As part of his housing affordability initiative, he started yet another boondoggle called Access Home. This program gives up to $15,000 down payments to first-time homeowners. In Cook County, households with up to $143,808 in income are eligible, and they can purchase a single-unit home worth up to $664,232 or a two-unit property worth up to $796,816. If you live in a targeted area, an area where more home ownership is desired, like large swaths of Cook County, then you can spend even higher amounts on a home. Apparently, there was some serious calculations done in designing this program, considering these aren't nice round numbers. Some bureaucrat came up with the precise income and home price limitations for this assistance. That's some great government work there. It's unlikely most first-time homebuyers consider buying a two-unit property, but offering the assistance to purchase such, where presumably one would be rented out, fits right in with Pritzker's bigger initiative to incentivize multifamily dwellings across the state. Access Home is just the latest of 3 other Access variations that give out forgivable, deferred, or 0% interest down payment loans. The granddaddy of all these home buying programs, though, went away last year. That was the Student Debt Relief Home Buying Program. I bet you didn't know you were paying for that. Any homebuyer could have up to $40,000 in student loans paid off by the state for buying a home in Illinois and holding it for just 3 years. It was too good to be true, so it's gone. Here's the rub on all of the above. No taxpayer should be forced to subsidize the home purchase of anyone else, period. And affordability comes first by a hard cap on property taxes. I'm Jeannie Ives. Listen to The Real Story Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
7:39 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of True Green, the easiest way to get a golf course quality lawn. Don't wait. Sign up at TrueGreen.com. Get your first application for $9.95. True Green, the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour. Hurry. Offer ends 5/21. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Again, big problems on the Stevenson coming inbound at Cass with an accident blocking three lanes. You're getting by on a left shoulder. There's gapers on the outbound side to the inbound accident. Jane Addams stop and go eastbound between Meacham and Route 53, and an accident on the Reagan left lane block eastbound between the Myers Toll and Midwest. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your morning weather in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. A warm day ahead, cloudy and breezy, a couple of showers and storms throughout the morning, and a high near 78.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with the wirepoints.org folks. All things Illinois policy related. The modern day Cassandras over at Chicago Flips Red. Always entertaining when they appear during a public comment section before a city council meeting or a Cook County Board of Commissioners meeting. Jessica Jackson, one of the co-founders, offered one of her better performances that I've seen, both in mocking the identitarian silliness around remapping and voter ID and pointing properly to real issues here locally in Cook County that should be dealt with rather than buried. Real issues where Cook County is running afoul of the law. I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Jackson.
The reality is this. Black people's voting is not in danger, and you know it's not. And you know it's not. I'm 63 years old. I've been voting since I was 18. I have never had a problem voting. Now, that may apply to my mother and father. It applies to my grandparents. Surely it does. And in fact, because it does, every single person in this room, including that Jewish lady that just got up and talked, need to really be thanking us. Really need to be thanking us for getting y'all the right to vote, for getting y'all the right to be here, instead of sitting up here manipulating the Voting Rights Act like something's getting ready to happen to our right to vote, when you know that's not true. So now you all gonna drag black people in here, definitely some senior citizens, and gonna have them come up here and talk about how they scared to vote, how this messed up their right to vote, women need to vote, all that junk, when you know it's not true.
Good impersonation. These sniveling
Just like to sit
commissioners.
up here and make like black people can't get IDs. Us requiring IDs to vote, it's gonna stop black people from voting. Why black people ain't got IDs? See, you all get
Very
more and more
Khrushchevian
ridiculous.
pounding of the lectern there.
But you can't, in this room full of these black people, talk about that federal case that just got filed Monday that's talking about how you all are stealing property at Cook County sales. Where the black people in here? Raise your hand that if they told you to come in here to talk about how your property got stolen. Where you at? Huh? Because we got commissioners in here that know for a fact it's happening. Catskill, you know it's happening. Lori, you know it's happening. Michael Scott, you know it's happening. Lamont Williams, come on, you give up cases for the county. You know it's happening. Donna Miller, you know what's happening. Well, come on, y'all black people that they done send here with these 501c3s, that they got y'all in here talking for them. Why y'all ain't in here talking about how they stealing our property?
1 minute.
Where y'all at? Come on, because y'all getting ready to come up here to this mic and lie for the cameras to say that black people's voting is done by this Louisiana thing and Donald Trump and the Trump administration, when Donald Trump is in front of the Supreme Court right now fighting for the 14th Amendment, saying that black people, that amendment was for black people.
30 seconds.
Not for birthrights, not for people to anchor themselves over here illegally. And they got y'all black people in here getting ready to talk against him. I mean, y'all real sick up in the head. You sick in the head and more sicker in your spirit. This is insane.
Time has expired for the speaker. Next
Y'all
speaker,
crazy.
Taiwan Sim.
Yeah, the case that she's referring to, just in case you have been following it, it turns out, as usual, Cook County, Illinois, an outlier. The only state that still unconstitutionally allows governments to confiscate entire properties without compensation, even when the fair market value far exceeds the amount in taxes owned. These forced tax sales. 2 bills pending in the General Assembly propose solutions to end this predatory practice. Oh, the General Assembly's finally getting around to it. And what Jessica, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty, was referring to was on May 11th, the federal judge found Cook County liable for damages to taxpayers who lost their property under Illinois' property tax collection provisions, because they're unconstitutional. For all of the high-minded, soaring rhetoric about marginal populations and protecting and constituent services and black and brown people and all this, and you want to talk about disproportionate impact, take a look at who was on the wrong end of this predatory practice by Cook County. For more on this and other matters, Mark Glennon joins us. Mark, thanks for being with us as always. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, boy, that clip was golden. I hadn't heard that before. She nailed it. And you're right about the foreclosure process. We've known about this pending issue for well over a year because the courts had said this kind of thing was unconstitutional, basically taking away the equity as well from somebody that gets foreclosed on. And the legislature has done nothing. It's just flagrant nonfeasance and inattention to a matter that could have been corrected, and they've done nothing.
Yeah, it's just remarkable. I mean, there's so many instances of this. We talk about it all the time, but the predatory government, Cook County, Chicago, the state of Illinois, really, in instance after instance, we can go through them. We've gone through them. You have a government that is aligned against the interests of its citizens, people who play by the rules, or people who, for example, fell behind on their taxes. Okay, fine, but they are treated illegally in response. There is no consideration given. In fact, it's an opportunity for the state to act in the most capricious and rapacious ways. And when that opportunity presents itself, you can count on the state of Illinois, the city of Chicago, the county of Cook to behave that way.
Yeah, this is a fundamental principle sort of in debtor-creditor law, which I used to practice. When you foreclose on somebody, you get made whole. You get back your loan amount and the cost of the foreclosure, but you don't get to steal all the equity that was there because somebody got behind in the bills. But that's what this is about. That's what Cook County has been doing. It could have been easily corrected by statute, and nothing was done about it.
So they steal the equity in forced tax sales, and when they aren't doing forced tax sales and stealing equity, they're stealing equity through confiscatory property taxes. So they got you coming and going. It's a pretty good racket.
Yeah, that's right. The equity in your house is, it's open season on the equity in your house.
This was an interesting development. There was a story out last week about this problem of chronic absenteeism, which afflicts about 40% of CPS students. They miss 10% or more of school without a valid of school days without a valid excuse. So there's a nonprofit that was going to spend $10 million to address the study on the results of a study they did on chronic absenteeism. I don't know exactly what that was going to, what form that was going to take, and it would seem like just sort of more feel-good silliness from self-styled elites. But good news. Because, you think chronic absenteeism, well, that's going to impact CPS's state support because it's predicated on average daily attendance, and 40% are missing 10 or more days. That's a problem until the Illinois State Board of Education stepped in. And as part of the rebrand going on, they're deleting the term chronic absenteeism. We've eliminated the problem. Eliminate the term, you eliminate the problem. Schools will no longer be downgraded if students fail to show up. But a school's overall grade can be lifted if students do show up. So you're getting the money whether they show up or not, but you can get a little bit more if they actually show up as opposed to not showing up. It's more fodder for a Jessica Jackson rant at the next CPS board meeting. But anyway, go ahead.
Whatever happened to truancy laws? If we wanted to correct this, we'd make starting with the CPS, make press charges, create some kind of charge for being an accessory to truancy, the way they participated in this, and allow it and take days off for political protests and such. Crack down on this stuff. It used to be the case where truancy was enforced, but that's long gone.
Well, you can see why the BLM Brandon announced that there will be no school closures. I mean, you guys, Wire Points, Ted Dabrowski, and you guys have been documenting this for years about schools that were, once upon a time had 2,000, 3,000 kids that today have 200, 300 kids. But no school closures, and you don't need to close schools because no matter how many kids you have or don't have, you get whatever you get money for whatever you say you have, apparently.
Yeah, some with as few as 15% occupancy. It's the total waste of money. Obviously, savings that could be achieved there, and that's part of the reason why CPS, especially, has a per student cost of well over $30,000. It's just obscene. It's suicidal.
$30,000. You said
$30,000, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for that, we get what? 1/4 of students reading at grade level, maybe a little less than 1/5 doing math at grade level.
And even worse, unfortunately, for minority students. That's right.
Uh-huh. The J.B. Pritzker, we talked about it a bit earlier in the program. The upshot is yesterday he broke bad on his buddy BJ, JB and BJ. They're sort of a tandem, but JB said that BJ didn't have a plan to keep the Bears in Chicago. He'd like the Bears to stay in Chicago, but he didn't have a plan. And he shows up late to Springfield when he has things he wants Springfield to do, and that's not a very good way to govern. What's your interpretation of JB's public criticism of BJ?
I have to say he's right. He doesn't know how to lobby either. Johnson doesn't. What I hear consistently from some lobbyists I know is that Chicago's effort in Springfield on everything is just laughable. They have no idea how to deal with the legislature, and they're completely ineffective at anything they do. And it's obviously as true with the Bears as well. They're doing nothing constructive on that or anything else to try to come to a serious solution about anything.
And so you think it may also be JB trying to ascribe culpability to BJ and insulate himself if the Bears do indeed decide to go to Indiana?
Good point. He'll be a really good point. That's no doubt he'll be trying to distance himself from Johnson. And the fact, though, that Pritzker contributed to the political establishment that made Johnson possible. He didn't officially endorse Johnson, but he took shots at Vallis and during the course of the election, and he shouldn't get away with that.
Mark Glennon, founder of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. You can also read his musings at his Substack, substack.com/@MarkGlennon. Mark, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
And he joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
I'd like to tell you about a man named Phineas who as a child survived the Holocaust. Phineas survived because Christians hid him from the Nazis, risking everything to save his life. Today, Phineas is in his 80s. He can no longer stand on his own or even leave his home to receive medical care. And when sirens sound and missiles fall, he doesn't have the time or the strength to reach safety. But once again, Christians are helping to save his life. Through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, a mobile clinic brings doctors and medicine right to Phineas's doorstep, providing care that he otherwise would not receive, especially during a time of war. Phineas said, "Christians saved my life during the Holocaust, and now again, they are helping me." As Israel's Holocaust Remembrance Day approaches, remember these precious children of God by lifting them up in prayer, asking for his protection, his comfort, and his peace. Stand with Israel in prayer by visiting supportifcj.org. That's supportifcj.org.
Note before I forget, cigar nights tonight, at Gobert's Farm up in Pingree Grove. Tickets no longer on sale online, but you can still get tickets at the door, cash or credit. So tickets at the door for cigar night if you make an 11th hour decision to show up and join us. You're welcome to do that. If you're living with joint pain, listen up. I want you to try something different. You don't have to live in pain every day. Have a conversation with my friends at QC Kinetics and tell them I sent you when you do. They offer all-natural regenerative treatments for joint pain. I've seen the results and recommend Dr. Cavallari and her team. Stop saying to yourself, this is just how I am now. Stop being so fatalistic. That's not okay. Get back to the normal you, the one who is active and carefree. QC Kinetics is helping AM560 listeners with pain from arthritis or injury in their knees, hips, and shoulders. Now they're moving again, golfing and running without surgery or long recovery. The science is real. The treatments are natural. Your body knows how to heal. QC Kinetics will show you how without surgery. So don't watch summer pass you by again, stuck on your couch and afraid to move. Take action today by scheduling an appointment right now. Consultations are free. All you do is call 312-827-6261. That number, 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics for a pain-free summer, 312-827-6261.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the Retirement Tax Bill Calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com. Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So, Tim, let's check in on how you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind. Perhaps you have a story or two, a success story or two, an example of how you've helped clients recently.
I remember I had a neighbor who, believe it or not, was a longtime listener to your show. And he had come up to me in the yard and said he wanted to stop and smell the roses and kind of get out of his job. He was done taking the train downtown to Chicago every day and basically working 60 hours a week for a company that didn't really care about him or his family. So we started running numbers, and lo and behold, he was able to retire 5 years earlier. He's now 12 years retired. He's a grandpa. He's loving life. He, too, needed a protect and grow blueprint, and he had to make sure he wasn't leaving anything to chance for their future.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow Blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell him I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08 is today the day that Thomas Massie's career in Congress effectively comes to an end. We'll start there with David Drucker, talk midterms at 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
They're voting in 6 states today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and the race getting the most attention is the most expensive primary campaign ever, as President Trump urges voters in Kentucky to oust Congressman Thomas Massie, even calling into a campaign rally last night.
I say he's the worst Republican congressman in the history of the country. I think he's just horrible. He's been a horrible, horrible person.
The president, who succeeded getting Louisiana voters to defeat GOP Senator Bill Cassidy Saturday, is backing Massie's GOP challenger, Ed Galrine. Massie has voted against some Trump-backed legislation. He says millions in outside money trying to buy a seat that belongs to the people. There are also races for Congress, Senate, and governor in 5 other states: Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. Back to the president, he put on hold his plan to resume bombing Iran today, saying several Gulf countries urged him to, still hoping a nuclear deal can be negotiated.
And there seems to be a very good chance that they can work something out. If we can do that without bombing the hell out of them, I'd be very happy.
He's also telling U.S. military to be on standby at a moment's notice. The African Ebola outbreak getting worse, with more than 500 cases now in the Congo and Uganda, at least 130 deaths.
I'm deeply concerned about the scale and the speed of the epidemic.
Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus is the head of the World Health Organization.
This epidemic is caused by a species of Ebola virus for which there are no vaccines or therapeutics.
1 American doctor is among those infected. The State Department is sending $13 million to combat the outbreak, telling Americans don't travel to the hotspot region.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Investigators in California looking for answers into why 2 teenagers went on the attack at the Islamic Center of San Diego, shooting and killing 3 people.
No one in our city should live in fear because of their identity, their faith, or their place of learning.
Mayor Todd Gloria. The teens were found dead in a car blocks away. It's believed they shot themselves. America's listening to Fox News.
69 degrees and cloudy skies, 8:02 in our QC Kinetics newsroom. I'm Mike Scott. Governor Pritzker, strong words from Mayor Brandon Johnson over his last-ditch efforts to try and keep the Bears in Chicago.
Has come up with no plan at all about how the Bears would end up in the city of Chicago, so that's problematic. I'd love them to be in the city, but we're 3 years in now, and he still has no plan.
In other news, we're following a Cook County State's Attorney's Office press conference yesterday announced the launching of a new task force to tackle crime on public transit. It follows the high-profile hijacking of a CTA bus at Knight Point last week. Chicago police had a strong show of force along North Avenue Beach Monday night after CPD and CPS warned parents about 2 possible teen mobs planning a takeover. A flyer was seen being passed around on social media advertising a senior ditch day, calling all high school students to gather at North Avenue Beach. And a New York investment firm is preparing to buy Chicago's parking meters. Mayor Brandon Johnson's office confirmed there is a tentative deal for Chicago parking meters to sell the meters to Stone Peak Private Partners. Talks about buying the parking meters stem from that infamous 2008 deal by then Chicago Mayor Richard M. Daley. Sold the meters to a private company for just over $1 billion in a 75-year deal. Baseball last night. White Sox lost to the Mariners. Cubs beaten by Milwaukee. The news, a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The housing market may be stalled and budgets may be stretched by high energy costs, but people are still buying from Home Depot. Its earnings topped expectations for the recent quarter. Chief Financial Officer Richard McPhail says homeowners are continuing to pull back on large home improvement projects because of economic uncertainty, though homeowners continue to show interest in improving their home. Paint sales and outdoor items are selling. Stocks appear to be taking a breather after a tech-led rally pushed the Nasdaq and S&P to records last week. Crude oil prices remain high. West Texas Intermediate at $107 a barrel. Brent crude has topped $110, even though President Trump says he's holding off on attacking Iran at the request of Gulf leaders. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Alex Marlow sees good news on the economy.
Economy added 115,000 jobs in April. 115,000 jobs in this economy is a lot, and it's much bigger than the forecast from Wall Street, which were about 55,000. Back-to-back monthly job gains for the first time in about a year. Another good sign. This signals the labor market is re-accelerating.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com, and schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Have you been watching gold and silver lately? Hard to ignore. Back in January of 2025, silver was under $30 an ounce, and now it's more than doubled. Again, not bad, right? Some experts say this bull market is just getting started. Others say it's a good time to take some money off the table. Either way, whether you're buying or selling, Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is the place to go. They stock large quantities of all the major bullion coins and bars. And here's what sets them apart. Unlike places that only pay melt value, Fox Valley Coins pays more for high-grade coins and scarcer dates. That's real money left in your pocket. They also buy scrap sterling flatware, jewelry, silver-plated items, and old proof sets. And they specialize in U.S. and foreign collector and investment coins and currency, both buying and selling. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 on Route 59 at Ferry Road in Naperville. Family owned with integrity since 1981.
8:07 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Stevenson. Bad accident involving semi and metal coils that have spilled off and over the roadway. 3 lanes are blocked. You are scraping by on the left-hand shoulder right now on the Stevenson inbound at Cass. There's outbound delays as well. DuSable Lakeshore Drive showing up with tough stuff. Bryn Mawr to Hollywood on the northbound side this morning. Reagan eastbound I-88 jams up at Route 83. Roadwork delays on Route 53 northbound between the Ike and Kirchhoff. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But first, a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect cloudy skies with a breeze, a few showers, and a thunderstorm. It'll be very warm in the morning, then turning cooler in the afternoon. Thunderstorms could bring localized damaging wind gusts. The high will reach 82. Tonight will be partly to mostly cloudy and cooler with a low of 48. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So today is primary election day in Kentucky and Georgia, but Kentucky particularly the most expensive Republican congressional primary in history because MAGA has targeted Kentucky Representative Tom Massie for removal. And that included Pete Hegseth coming to town to campaign for Ed Galron and against Massie, to which Massie had this to say.
Well, first of all, it shows that I'm up in the polls. They wouldn't be sending the Secretary of War to my congressional district if I weren't. I think it also shows I'm tougher than Iran, and I don't even have a nuclear weapon. I mean, they are all in this race. It's basically a national race at this point, and that's because, I'm up there, I'm getting things done.
Ed Galron had this to say about Mr. Massie and that contention.
To that I say this race is a referendum for sure. It's a referendum to see if coastal elite liberal Democrats can buy a seat in Congress under the guise of a rhino Republican who has served for 14 years and is nicknamed Miss Representative Massie. Our term limits Tom, depending on what county you're here in my district of 21 counties. He's got a problem for every solution. He continues to be the MVP of the squad. He won that in 2025, hands down. He's the front runner for 2026. It's a pretty low bar, as we say in Kentucky, when you get the endorsement of the New York Times, that left-wing liberal congressman from California, Ro Khanna, the Joey Behar, and the ladies from The View, and to put a bow on it, that Crockett lady from Texas. When you tell folks in Kentucky he's been endorsed by those folks, they are dumbfounded because he's had the top cover of mainstream media for years. He's their darling. Laura, it wouldn't surprise you to know the New York Times came here a few weeks back. They didn't even talk to me. They interviewed him, wined and dined him, and did a lovely article on him because they hate us. One other thing I want to add, he has shipped in a bunch of out-of-state, no-name, so-called Republican rhino congressmen because not one of the Kentucky congressional delegation will stand near him because he's kryptonite. He can get nothing done for the Commonwealth.
Well, or they don't want to have the Trump sights put on them the way that Lauren Boebert has now. By the same token, with all due respect to Mr. Galron, Ann Coulter, Massie's not only the most conservative member of Congress in the freedom and constitutional sense, but he's also the smartest. He graduated from MIT with a BS in electrical engineering and MS in mechanical engineering, and while there invented a haptic computer interface, founded a tech company in his dorm room, got dozens of patents, and made millions of dollars. Today, the tech he invented is used in surgical training, robotics, and molecular research, among others. I mean, he could be smart, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't, in a safe Republican seat, you couldn't have someone more aligned with America first, I suppose, would be the counter argument. That said, the idea he's the worst, always the hyperbole, the worst congressman in American history. A bit over the top. And while he hasn't always afforded himself well, at least from my perspective, but I'm not a libertarian, he did oppose COVID lockdown policies and vaccine mandates and the massive pandemic spending. He is, like Rand Paul, usually hostile to corporate welfare and expansion of entitlement programs and government interventions in the economy. So it's a little bit more complicated than, of course, Trump and his supporters want to make it. But by the same token, the trend lines seem to indicate that Tom Massie is an underdog going into today's election. Now, on the other side, of course, you have the ongoing hue and cry, which will continue through the rest of this cycle, and then from November of 26 and through November of 28, you can be sure. And that is the impact of the remapping that's going on, as well as the Calais decision-inspired remapping. And it's going to be wall-to-wall Jim Crow 2.0, Jim Clyburn with Tapper.
Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock said it was a, quote, 21st century version of Jim Crow in new clothes. Do you agree?
Absolutely, I agree.
And AOC.
Young man who was testifying against redistricting out in the South.
and he said something very true, that MAGA is the last dying breath of the Confederacy. And it could not be more true.
You've gone from being insurrectionists to being Confederates, or maybe Confederates to insurrectionists, back to Confederates. It's hard to keep track. Deplorables to insurrectionists to Confederates to... Francis Parker Spice, Chicago's very own, at least high school educated, Ayanna Pressley.
There are people in this hostile anti-black administration that would rather black Americans pick cotton than pick the president, than pick their congressperson, than pick a senator.
Yeah, that's what you're going to be treated to. For more on all this, David Drucker, senior writer for The Dispatch, author of In Trump's Shadow, The Battle for 2024 and the Future of the GOP. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be here.
What's your sense of Thomas Massie's fate today?
Good question. I was out there a couple weeks ago, talked to a lot of different people that support him, people that oppose him. And I don't mean to overuse the cliche, it comes down to turnout, but I mean it in this way. What even Republican activists and operatives in the district told me was that if every single registered Republican showed up to vote today, early voting, mail-in voting, and in-person voting, there are plenty of votes to defeat Thomas Massie in a primary with Ed Galron, who's, your run-of-the-mill Republican with a good resume, and, he's kind of good on the stump. He's not perfect, but he's okay. The question is whether that kind of turnout is going to occur or something like it, because the faction of Republican primary voters that vote for the so-called, they call them in that district Liberty Republicans, right? These libertarian-leaning Republicans. Those voters always show up to vote. And they're definitely going to vote for Massie. And they're definitely going to show up. And one of the reasons why Massie won his first primary back in 2012 and has been hard to beat ever since, not that it's been tried at this level, is that he's got an immovable, committed base of support. And usually in a primary like this, in this district in particular, turnout is particularly low. So we've seen signs of higher turnout across the state, according to the Kentucky Secretary of State. That might be helped by the Senate primary, even though Andy Barr is going to run away with it at this point. But that's when I say it comes down to turnout. It particularly comes down to, do all these non-liberty Republicans, these non-libertarians that are more of your traditional sort of Republican, but also very supportive of President Trump, are they going to show up in force? If they do, Massie's in trouble. If they don't, he can get by.
Yeah, it's interesting with Massie as compared to those Indiana state senators or even to Senator Cassidy, because I think part of the postmortem was it wasn't just Trump's support for opponents or opposition to incumbents. It was also a feeling among the electorate that these individuals were not fighting the fights that I expected them to fight, that I sent them to Washington or I sent them to Indianapolis to fight. And that's a little bit different with Massie, because he has picked some fights that base Republican libertarian voters wanted to see fought, including on COVID, for example. Same thing with Rand Paul, which is why he still enjoys, I think, generally speaking, good standing in Kentucky. So, if you just look at it through the Trump prism, I think perhaps you miss the complicating factor, that the texture of, yeah, okay, he's had run-ins with Trump, but he's done X, Y, and Z. He's fought a lot of the right fights, even if I don't agree with every time he's disagreed with Trump. And that's different than maybe Cassidy could claim, or those Indiana state senators, certainly.
Well, I think that's true to a degree. I think you hit on a good point, and I was in Indiana a couple of weeks before I was in Kentucky to cover those state Senate races. And it's funny, the incumbents that were under threat were telling me that some of the most potent ads that were causing them the most problems, and of course the majority of them ended up losing, were ads having to do with China buying up Indiana farmland, and, things that they had not done to sort of burnish their conservative bona fides as voters think of it today. But I did talk to a lot of voters in Indiana who just basically said, well, Trump's against this guy. And if Trump's against this guy, then I'm against this guy, because Trump Trump, in a sense, is my signal for what is sufficiently Republican or conservative or a fighter or however you want to look at it. I think you're very correct to hone in on the fact that Massey's a complicated figure in this regard. Look, he was elected in part because he was going to go to Washington and fight the man. And he wasn't going to worry about what House Republican leadership had to say, and he wasn't going to worry about what the White House had to say or the media or anything else. So what's changed? Well, what's changed is most Republican voters now like the man. And House Republican leadership mostly does what Trump wants. Therefore, they want Massey to listen to House Republican leadership. So Massey really hasn't changed. But the Republican voters' perception of Washington for the time being has changed. And even though there are some issues on foreign policy and Israel in particular and how he talks about Jews and American support for Israel is very suspect and in theory could cause him a problem in any Republican primary. What's really going on here is they wanted a fighter when the opponent prior was Barack Obama. They don't want a fighter if you're fighting against Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just looking ahead to Texas. I mean, we have the same dynamic, a similar dynamic, not exactly the same, similar dynamic, it seems, with Cornyn that we had with Cassidy. And at least the last sort of group of polls I've seen on the race, it's been trending in the direction of Paxton in that race, too. So you may see Trump really run the table in terms of some of the political opponents in Congress that he has had within Republican ranks, as well as those who were recalcitrant at the state level to do what he wanted on the remap.
Yeah, I mean, if I were a betting man, I would just bet on Paxton because that's what I think is more likely to happen. I would say there's a couple of sort of some differences between Cassidy and Cornyn. Cassidy's original sin was voting to convict President Trump after that second impeachment because of the riot at the Capitol and all of that. That's why Trump went after Cassidy, and for no other reason. Cornyn, he hasn't gone after per se, and even though Cornyn's been an occasional critic of Trump or been willing to, speak, his opinion about Trump's political standing at any given time, he never logged any of those votes. But what's going on with Cornyn is that he's out of fashion for what Republican voters want right now, right? When he was elected Texas Attorney General in 1998 and U.S. Senator in 2002, he was exactly the kind of sort of governing, genteel, erudite Republican that Republican primary voters really liked, especially, by the way, across the South. What they want now are no-hold-barred fighters who don't worry about legislating, don't worry about working with Democrats, and just bring it every day in that fashion. And Cornyn, that's just not who he is. And I think for Cornyn, it's more of an issue of being out of place for what the base of the party is looking for stylistically today.
Yeah, I think his future is additionally imperiled by the failure to move the SAVE Act, for example, even though that's not his primary responsibility, and the focus has more or less been on Thune and some of the holdouts in the Senate that are obvious with respect to the filibuster. But it speaks to the old guard of Republican senators are the ones who can't get done what should get done. 80% of the people support this. They can't get it done. And Cornyn sort of represents that in the minds of many, myself included to a large extent, sort of the cake-eating type of old guard Republican that we've tired of.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of that, right? And it's a question of, do you work within the system and, make necessary compromises and, accept the limitation of institutions, or do you not? And where Republican voters are right now is, and by the way, Democratic voters are in the same place. I mean, I'm covering Democratic primaries, which I am. I don't want to hear about Senate rules. I don't want to hear about norms or values. I don't want to hear about 60 votes. I don't want to hear about 51 votes for that matter. I mean, Democratic voters expect Democrats in Congress to do things they literally don't have the numbers to do no matter what the rules are. Either you have a majority or you don't. And Republican voters are in many ways in the same place, although they do have small majorities, but particularly because the president is in favor of, of not being limited by any systems, and he is, communicating to Republican primary voters that things are possible that, may or may not be possible, and it sort of depends on, what the bill is and what the ramifications are. They're just expecting results, and they're not in a place where it's good enough to pass sort of they're not in a place where when you tell people you're governing, that's the answer, right? They want to hear that you are doing big, bold things that go beyond, often the scope of what's technically possible based on what the numbers are.
On the other side, I mean, you've heard the clips I played, and you've been, I'm sure, watching the same rhetorical offerings that I've been watching. So, do you expect that there'll be diminishing marginal returns to all this ghosts of the Confederacy, Jim Crow 2.0 business with respect to the Calais decision and the subsequent remapping?
I mean, it's kind of red meat that Democrats are throwing at their base, and their base will eat it up. I don't think that it necessarily matters one way or the other in a midterm election where everything's going to hinge on how people feel about the president and the issues that matters most to them, which, as usual, but in particular, is the economy and the cost of living this time around. These are the sorts of things that I think could be problematic for Democrats in 2028. Because if you're running for president as the nominee of your party as a Democrat in 2028, and you're in these swing states and you're throwing around Jim Crow 2.0 and things like that, can rub a lot of swing voters and independents and soft Republicans that you need to come over to your side, can rub them the wrong way, right? So, this time around, especially you're in a Democratic primary, it's primary season for them too, and you're saying a bunch of stuff that, your voters are going to eat up, and everything's all about the president in any event. 2028 is going to be a totally different story.
Speaking of 2028, is it still very muddled on that side, do you think? Or is there even sort of in the scuttlebutt outside of public earshot, is there some rank order prioritizing or threshold developing going on among those who are aspirants?
I think it's muddled. And I think, what most people, just because I'm paid to do this, don't realize is the Democrats are still having a very robust internal debate about whether they should be a center-left party or a left-wing party, whether they should, prioritize winning the states you need to win a general election, or whether or not the old saw, what people want are big, bold ideas. So the leftier we are, I just made up that word, the leftier we are, the better. Mm-hmm. That's how you win, right? And I think that's a debate they are having internally. I think a lot of people are going to run for president on their side, and we will see who emerges. I mean, whether I've watched these Democratic primaries or Republican primaries over the years when they're open and crowded, there's always a sense of the person at the top of the polls or the most name ID at the moment. That's the one they're going to pick. And they often don't pick that person. Whether it's 2004, it wasn't Howard Dean, it ended up to be John Kerry. Whether it's 2016, it wasn't 25 Republicans, it was Donald Trump. Whether it was, 2008, it wasn't Hillary Clinton, it was Barack Obama. So, these things never usually end up the way people think they will. And I suspect that we're going to see a lot of that this time.
David Drucker, senior writer for The Dispatch, author of In Trump's Shadow, The Battle for 2024 and the Future of the GOP. David, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
Annie, join us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 Golf Outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner listener. When you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dream at leavingil.com.
Hey, if you're living with joint pain, listen up. I want you to try something different. You don't have to live in pain every day. Have a conversation with my friends at QC Kinetics and tell them I sent you when you do. They offer all-natural regenerative treatments for joint pain. I've seen the results and personally recommend Dr. Caravelli and her team. Stop saying to yourself, this is just how I am now. That's not okay. Get back to the normal you, the one who is active and carefree. QC Kinetics is helping AM 560 listeners with pain from arthritis or injury in their knees, hips, and shoulders. Now they're moving again, golfing and running without surgery or long recovery. The science is real. The treatments are natural. Your body knows how to heal. QC Kinetics will show you how without surgery. Don't watch summer pass you by again, stuck on your couch, afraid to move. Take action today. Schedule an appointment right now. Consultations are free. Call 312-827-6261. That number again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
If moving safely around your home is a concern, you deserve clear answers, not a sales pitch. Access will help you improve home accessibility with practical solutions like lifts, grab bars, and home modifications, designed to fit your home, your needs, and budget. Experienced professionals will take the time to explain your options so you can make an informed decision. If staying safe and comfortable in your home matters to you, start with a free in-home consultation. Call Access at 630-616-6249 or visit allaboutaccess.com.
Well, we decided to develop our own mattress line just, I think, purely from a quality standpoint again.
We wanted to go the opposite way the industry was going. The industry was cheapening things, and we didn't believe in that.
Ben and Arvid from Penny Mustard Furnishings.
The entire mattress industry has gone to one-sided. We still believe that a two-sided is going to last you longer. You can get more comfort out of it.
5 years from now, 10 years from now, I want them to look back and say, wow, I bought that a long time ago, and I'm still really happy with it. That's true in our mattresses. It's true in our furniture.
PennyMustard.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Coming up at 8:38, was Trump right to defer to the Saudis and the Emiratis and hold off on, and the Kuwaitis, and hold off on renewed strikes against Iran? We'll put that question to Jed Bamid, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, at 8:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
69 degrees, breezy. Expect a couple of thunderstorms later today. In our QC Kinetics newsroom, authorities say 2 teen suspects opened fire at an Islamic center in San Diego, killing 3 men before killing themselves.
So the suspects at this point appear to have died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. There were no officers involved in firing their weapons.
Secretary of Homeland Security Mark Wayne Mullen.
Kash Patel, myself, the White House, we work together all the time to work with these religious establishments, and we've had FEMA grants that they can use to help protect themselves. Unfortunately, for the last 76 days, we were shut down, so we're just now getting those grants out. Wow. Until then, they have to hire their own security.
Voters across 6 states are heading to the polls for a major primary election day. Alabama, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and even Georgia. Former LAPD Detective Mark Fuhrman, known for finding the bloody glove in the O.J. Simpson murder case, is dead at the age of 74. Fuhrman, living in Idaho, passed away from an aggressive form of throat cancer. Charges are pending after a suspect was taken into custody after a deadly stabbing in the Norwood Park neighborhood Monday night. Stabbing took place around 11:15 p.m. in the 600 block of North Harlem Avenue when a 24-year-old man got into a verbal and physical altercation with another known male suspect. A 17-year-old has died after being pulled from 54-degree Lake Michigan water in Waukegan on Monday evening. The teen's friends told Waukegan Fire they had been swimming in the channel when they called for help after their friend did not make it out. NFL owners will reportedly vote today to award the Super Bowl in 2030 to Nashville. At that same meeting, the Bears are expected to address their stadium plan. White Sox lost to the Mariners 6-1, while the Cubs surrendered 13 hits in a 9-3 loss to the Brewers. The news service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience at surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Monday, June 15th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Edward Jones Financial Advisor Nolan Webster and by real estate broker Ed Dring at leavingil.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
John was an active man. He'd go for runs, walk the golf course, and always take the stairs instead of the elevator. But then bone-on-bone knee pain got in the way. Ow! And affected his mobility. It became too painful to even go for walks. And when it seemed like John's only option was knee replacement surgery, a friend told him about the Joint Relief Institute and their affordable, non-surgical knee pain relief. John met with the Joint Relief Institute and discovered their lubricating gel treatment could rejuvenate his lost cartilage. Safe, effective, no surgery. Long story short, John is now back to being active without pain or medication.
There is an alternative to knee replacement surgery. Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
8:38, let's check the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Stevenson inbound, an accident still in place inbound at Cass Avenue. You're solid from the Veterans Memorial Toll all the way into the accident scene. You can squeeze by on the left-hand shoulder as two semis tangled early this morning. By the way, there's outbound delays as well, too. And we're watching delays on the Kennedy this morning. Accident right shoulder inbound at Division. Traffic is a service of Mattress Firm, ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup. Let Mattress Firm's sleep experts guide you to the perfect bed at the Memorial Day sale. Top brands, Ideal Comfort, Mattress Firm, they make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. A warm start to the day, cloudy, breezy in the afternoon, maybe a thunderstorm, and a high of 78.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Yesterday, President Trump announced effectively that he was holding off on renewed strikes against the Iranians at the request of Gulf state allies, saying the following.
Well, other countries have come to me and they've said we were getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also. We've informed Israel. We've informed other people in the Middle East that have been involved with us. And, it's a very positive development, but we'll see whether or not it amounts to anything. We've had periods of time where we thought pretty much getting close to making a deal, and it didn't work out. But this is a little bit different. Now, we're ready going tomorrow, very big, and not something I wanted to do, but we have no choice because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Yeah.
Is President Trump right to defer to Gulf state requests such as this one in the hopes of a deal? Let's put that question to our next guest, Jed Babin, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense and a contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator. Jed, thanks for joining us.
Well, good morning.
Is he right to, give the Gulf states some latitude to try to broker a deal?
Well, I think you have to look at what really could be a deal. The point really comes down to Iran is never going to give up its ambitions for nuclear weapons. So whatever the outcome of any negotiations, it's going to be the same. So we're just not going to get anywhere by either deferring or attacking as long as this regime is in power.
But does it make sense for him to say, okay, as again, the Qataris and the Saudis and the Emiratis come to him and say, give us a little bit more time. And he gives them a little bit more time because they're allies and in this fight. And if they come back with something that they know is insufficient, then at least he provided the opportunity. And the Iranians chose not to take advantage of it. Now we move ahead with the program that was apparently planned.
Well, that's true, except how many times are you going to do this?
Well, that's the question.
Yeah, that's really the question, because, again, the regime is never going to give up its nuclear weapons ambitions. The fact of the matter is they are not going to give it up peacefully. They're going to have to be disarmed and disarmed forcefully. So it's a matter of choice as to when we do it.
He posted something on Truth Social that I wanted, this is, one interpretation, get your reaction to it. He basically said, look, if Iran surrenders, admits their navy is gone and resting at the bottom of the sea, their air force is no longer, their entire military walks out of Tehran, weapons dropped, hands held up. If they essentially commit to unconditional surrender, the Democrats and media will say that America lost the war and no matter what we do. And while that may be true, I get the timing of posting that with that announcement you just heard. I mean, I just like my spidey sense is tingling that maybe he is talking to those Gulf state allies and is receptive to a deal that is not consistent with the objectives of this mission and will be received poorly even within some Republican ranks and people who support this effort to denuclearize Iran for some extended period of time. You know, I just wonder if he's looking for, you know, as people have said before, but he's held firm, admittedly, that he's looking for a way out, and he knows the way out is going to be the half a loaf that will be sort of roundly criticized, and he's trying to preordain victory. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I see what you're saying, and I think you're right to one extent. I mean, the fact of the matter is Trump wants a way out. I mean, he certainly cannot find one right now, but he wants a way out of the Iran war. He's got a big push in Congress against the war. You know, the War Powers Resolution is coming to the fore, and, you know, all the rhinos and so forth in Congress are going to go that way. So, you know, he's got to find a way out, but he can't. At this point, we just don't have a way out, and there's no real reason to even be discussing whether Iran's going to unconditionally surrender or not. Obviously, they're not. So we're going to have to find a way to put them down, and that's just not evident to me right now.
Well, the way out is victory. It's through achieving the objectives set forward. Right. But the question is, what is the cost, and is President Trump willing to pay it? And what is your assessment on what the cost would be?
Well, the cost would be very, very high. If we're going to revoke the regime, if we're going to get the Ayatollahs out of there, it's going to take a ground invasion, which I'm not much for. But, you know, we have to do what we have to do. And at this point, there is no way to get rid of the nuclear ambitions, again, without overthrowing the regime. Long ago, at the outset of Mr. Trump's second term, I wrote in the Washington Times that we should have the president sign a secret presidential directive directing the CIA to overthrow the regime. And, you know, he could have done that. I don't think he did. You know, they just don't have the gumption to do it at this point. And I don't think the CIA has the capability to do it at this point.
I want to get your reaction to sort of the postmortem on the U.S.-China summit, between Trump and Xi. One thing George Friedman picked up on that I haven't heard discussed is something that Xi said, where he talked about peaceful coexistence. And he said, I'm quoting Xi, "The world today is changing and turbulent. China-U.S. relations concern the well-being of 1.7 billion people. Both sides should rise up to this historic responsibility and steer the giant ship of China-U.S. relations forward steadily and in the right direction." It's all platitudinous, but Friedman says that that's an important statement because it reflects a China moving away from its sort of Maoist foundations, where it was either communism, it was ultimately that communism will rule the day, and ultimately, you know, capitalism will be relegated to the ash heap of history. And what he says about the statements that Xi made is that hostility towards capitalist nations has declined over time, and China's economic evolution has continued to move in the direction of some sort of, you know, corporate estate. It's obviously not, a capitalist economy in the same way ours is, but that there is not this revolutionary philosophy about capitalism versus communism that punctuated Mao, and that represents a shift that's been gradually happening, and Friedman essentially argues was consummated by the statements that Xi made. Do you agree with that?
No. I think Mr. Friedman, with all due respect to him, is full of baloney. I think we have a revolutionary state in China. I think what you're looking at is, you know, basically their desire to conquer Taiwan. Mr. Trump's hesitation on the Taiwan arms deal is not good. It is something that is a big win for Xi. And I think what you're looking at, again, is an aggressive China that's not going to pass away on the idea of, any kind of revolution in the West that's going to overturn capitalism. They're just not capitalists over there.
Well, with respect to the pause on the arms deal, and the Taiwanese president basically saying that arms is our way of providing security and a bulwark against the Chinese communists.
Right.
And so when with Trump's pause, what is the strategic approach that's being evinced there?
Well, there is no strategic approach other than compromising with China. When we had in 1982, President Reagan told Taiwan that he would never consult with China before making a decision on arms sales to Taiwan. And that was a promise that has stood for 44 years. Mr. Trump has now gone back on it. I don't think that's a wise move.
But I mean, just thinking about what he's thinking, do you see a play that he's trying to make vis-a-vis China, vis-a-vis Iran?
What he's thinking, I don't know. Mr. Trump is, his own man,
yes,
obviously, and he's certainly not going to be complacent with a lot of things in the world, but he's also not going to listen to a lot of close advisors. And I think if he were listening to his advisors, he would be not trying to compromise with Xi on Taiwan.
Trump said something too, essentially about, he's imprecise with language often when he's not scripted, so I don't want to place too much weight on this, but he seemed to sort of make a statement that was dithering as it pertains to essentially America as the hegemon, that, sort of like she said, sort of a peaceful coexistence, two superpowers, not America. It wasn't really a statement of American exceptionalism like you would like to hear. And I just wonder if you picked up on that as well, if that was concerning to you.
I hadn't really picked up on it, but I really don't think there's much else to say. I mean, we've had, pardon me, I'm a little gasping for breath here.
Oh, no, sorry.
The basic bottom line is that we have a basic problem with China that's not going to be solved with nice words. If we're going to have a war with China over Taiwan, we're not going to win it.
Jed Babin,
we're going to have a very brief and very intense conflict, which we're going to lose. And that's a bad, bad thing for America, for the world, and for everything else that's going on.
Jed Babin, former United States Deputy Undersecretary of Defense and contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator. Jed, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hello.
Yep. And Jed joined us on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tim. My friend Tim Stearns, a certified financial planner with TJ Stearns Financial Planning in Arlington Heights. Tim, how are you? Welcome back.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tim, for more than 25 years, you've been helping clients achieve financial security and peace of mind, which has to be rewarding. Doing it a long time. You've got a lot of success stories on a daily basis, I'm sure. Can you give our listeners an example of a family that you've helped out recently that comes to mind?
We had a 65-year-old call who had been listening to your show, and he called us and he said, he wanted to know, do I have enough assets? I'm really tired of working. I'm burnt out, etc. And he didn't know if he had the resources, and he didn't have the knowledge to get to the answer of that. So we helped him prepare a Protect and Grow blueprint. And by doing that, we help position his money for income and cut back on the risks that they had in their current portfolio.
Thank you, Tim. If you're in your 50s or 60s, I want you to speak with my friend Tim Stearns, TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Tim will help you structure and optimize your savings to prepare for 20 to 30 years of enjoyable retirement. Call Tim today to schedule your free consultation and get your free Protect and Grow blueprint. Call 1-800-640-2256. Again, that number, 800-640-2256. Tell him I sent you when you call Tim at 800-640-2256.
If you're considering investing in precious metals, don't wait. The Iranian conflict seems to be nearing an end, and the time is now to position your retirement for massive growth. Advantage Gold is America's #1 precious metals company, and they want to send you a free gold and silver investor guide valued at $49 when you call 800-900-8000. Plus, you'll get a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Our specialists can help you open a new account or transfer funds from an existing IRA, tax and penalty-free, and show you how a gold-backed IRA can put real, tangible assets into your retirement portfolio. Markets react to news cycles, but gold has maintained its value through inflation, volatility, and economic uncertainty. When the purchasing power of the dollar declines, that's when investors turn to gold and silver. Make your move now. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Results may vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Hey, if you're living with joint pain, listen up. I want you to try something different. You don't have to live in pain every day. Have a conversation with my friends at QC Kinetics and tell them I sent you when you do. They offer all-natural regenerative treatments for joint pain. I've seen the results and personally recommend Dr. Caravelli and her team. Stop saying to yourself, this is just how I am now. That's not okay. Get back to the normal you, the one who is active and carefree. QC Kinetics is helping AM 560 listeners with pain from arthritis or injury in their knees, hips, and shoulders. Now they're moving again, golfing and running without surgery or long recovery. The science is real. The treatments are natural. Your body knows how to heal. QC Kinetics will show you how without surgery. Don't watch summer pass you by again, stuck on your couch, afraid to move. Take action today. Schedule an appointment right now. Consultations are free. Call 312-827-6261. That number again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
AM 560, The Answer.
By the way, yes, we are checking on Jed Babin to make sure he's okay. So there's a little shortness of breath there at the end of the interview. Spencer Pratt, of course, not a day goes by without a Spencer Pratt video, news spot, crowdsourced vignette. Spencer Pratt, the new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Apologies to Will Smith. No apologies, actually.
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I had to take a minute to run for mayor. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel-Air. Los Angeles, Palisades, in my backyard is where I spent most of my days, feeding hummingbirds, relaxing all cool, avoiding all the bums outside of the school. When a couple politicians who were up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood, I got in one little fire, my mom got scared and said, "You're moving in with Harvey Levin in Bel-Air." About 7 or 8, and I yelled to the rubble, "Yo ho, smell you later." I moved to my kingdom, I was finally there to sit on my throne as a Prince of Bel-Air.
He and his supporters are making it fun, I got to tell you. And maybe get Alfonso Ribeiro on board too. I think he's a Republican, actually. This is interesting. The people that are rallying to Spencer Pratt's defense when he's not rallying to his own defense. No criticism goes without pushback. Brittany Daniel is another media type that is trying to undermine Spencer Pratt's campaign. She's a writer for ESPN. Of course she is. Spencer Pratt's campaign feels a lot like Rick Caruso's campaign, a rich Republican trying to cosplay as an everyman when they really have no desire to connect with real LA. How much outreach has Pratt done to black and brown communities? He hasn't even visited our hoods. Our hoods? Senior writer for ESPN in the ghetto. Okay, Brittany. Yeah, Rick Caruso, billionaire real estate developer, and I'm not saying he wasn't, in touch, but and Spencer Pratt, who had a moment and made a little money, and is now living in a trailer or with his parents. Little bit different. By the way, that Brittany Daniel comment got this response from a engineer living in LA. A couple years ago, a homeless drug addict stabbed me in broad daylight, completely unprovoked. When it happened, I posted about my experience publicly because, honestly, I felt abandoned. 911 literally left me on hold, and I never felt like LA leadership cared about victims like me at all. Other assault victims also share with me that they felt unsupported and ignored. Spencer Pratt and his team actually reached out to hear my story, ask how they could help, and talk about what was happening in LA. People can say whatever they want politically, but I remember who showed compassion to assault victims and who didn't. Yeah. The Spencer Pratt train rolls on. June 2nd is that much anticipated primary election. We'll have the results as to what happens in Kentucky and Georgia tomorrow. Thank you for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. More wit and wisdom on Wednesday. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
The acting attorney general testifies at the Senate for the first time since taking over. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and Todd Blanche is pushing for a 13% increase in the Department of Justice budget.
This underscores our department's renewed focus on reducing violent crime, combating the fentanyl crisis, strengthening border and immigration enforcement, expanding fraud prevention, and ensuring our law enforcement agencies have the resources they need.
But before Blanche spoke, he got an earful from a Democrat.
The acting attorney general is supposed to be the people's lawyer and defend the rule of law.
Instead, Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen told Blanche he's working for President Trump, doing his dirty work.
And here you are at a budget hearing asking for taxpayer funds to pursue the department's mission when you're using those funds to punish Trump's adversaries, reward his friends, and pursue his personal vendettas.
The president's telling U.S. military to be ready at a moment's notice after delaying what he says was a plan to resume bombing Iran because Gulf countries asked him to wait, still hoping to negotiate a deal.
But we'll see whether or not it amounts to anything. We've had periods of time where we thought pretty much getting close to making a deal, and it didn't work out.
Iranian officials confirmed that on Sunday, their side provided the Trump administration through Pakistani mediators with an updated peace proposal. But one issue has been that Iran wants to settle the issue of nuclear capabilities after an agreement to end hostilities has been made. The White House says any agreement must mandate the country be cleared of nuclear material.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff at the White House. The president is hoping Republicans in Kentucky vote Congressman Thomas Massie out of office in the most expensive primary in history. Ed Galrain is the Trump-backed challenger, one of many contests on primary ballots there and in 5 other states. They're also voting